he's just going to whoop some ass.
Yep.
And I think Genty can do the same thing. But the Raiders, for some reason,
Raiders' offensive line isn't great. That's another reason why Genty's not having the immediate success that many expected him to have. But
well, let's face it. I'm just going to put it out there. Raiders and Browns play two worst offensive line teams hard.
I think the Browns' interior at least is respectable, whereas the tackle situation, the Browns have the worst tackle situation in the league right now, maybe outside of the Titans. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of either or, I think, it all evens out to the two worst tackles in place. And in that case, it just comes down to who you'd rather have.
Yeah.
Genty or Jenkins, because who is going to do that bell cow that takes the first hit and keeps going. And right now it's Jenkins. Genty is not getting the opportunity, and he's not making the most of them, but he may be the more talented of the two backs.
Yeah.
So,
I think Genty's got the higher floor, but I think both Judkins and Hampton have higher ceilings. And because Judkins is getting more of an opportunity, we're starting to see why his floor and his ceiling so high and why he probably has the best chance of those three to reach his ceiling.
And almost, I thought Jenkins and figuring out that
I've been telling you it's Judkins this entire time, but you didn't want to believe me until the process played itself out a little. That's fair.
and you were right on that one. Because, I'm more of a process guy, so I know you understand. And you were right on the thing that Jenkins was.
And we got the 2026 running backs coming up here. Jeremiah Love is who I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with Love because I have a 95 potential on Love, which is the same grade I gave Judkins last year. I think Jeremiah Love is great. I think he's faster than his two predecessors at Notre Dame, Audric Estime and Kyron Williams. I saw him make a one-handed catch like Odell Beckham. There's a lot I like with Jeremiah Love. I mean, he began the year as my number 2 player behind Caleb Downs. The thing is, his ball carrier vision, his pass blocking, it's not a liability, but it does need improvement, and it is significantly worse than both Estime and Kyron Williams, his predecessors, who both excelled in those areas, but were both slow with bad 40 times. And Williams has made it as a starter. Kyron Williams, Audric Estime is not. He lost the backup running back gig to R.J. Harvey, who took the starting running back gig from J.K. Dobbins in week 3. So, I have mixed feelings about Jeremiah Love because if his pass blocking and ball carrier vision is inconsistent than his predecessors, that leads me to believe, Joey, that his floor might be lower than Judkins. Even if their ceilings are equal, his floor might be lower. And that's the tricky part of this evaluation. If we're just grading players on potential alone, you could make the argument that Jeremiah Love's the second best player in the draft behind Caleb Downs. But once you watch the tape and you look at the strengths, you look at the weaknesses, you look at the fact that he is not getting as many rushing yards as last year. Teams are gunning in on him more. His reaction to that.
I will counter that by saying, yes, he's not as good of a blocker on passing down, throw down blocker.
He might be a better runner and pass catcher than his predecessors, but he's slightly worse. He's not a liability.
I don't think he's a better runner than Williams. I think Williams is a better runner, but he's probably a better pass catcher.
I'm saying he's faster. He might not be a better runner, but he's faster than Kyron Williams.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I think both he and Williams have their strengths, but I think they're very different backs, even though there are a couple similarities.
Jeremiah Love was number 2 on my big board behind Caleb Downs, but he's not a guy that I mocked at number 2 overall because if you're going to take a running back at 2, they have to literally check every box. They have to literally pass every portion of the draft process. They literally have to be as good as Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry to even warrant picking them that high. And I like I like Jeremiah Love. I don't think he's in the LaDainian Tomlinson, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley tier of running backs. I don't think he's in that tier. I think he's a first-round talent, but I don't think he's in that tier. So that's why I have a round 1 grade on him, but not.
You know, it's like, is he in the category of an Eddie George? Absolutely not. So that is his challenge. He has to be Tomlinson, George. He has to be these guys. Because he's just going to be another freaking Richardson that ends up flame out in 3 years. And, you know, he gets 10 touchdowns his rookie year. Everybody's like, yeah, gets traded right after. He does nothing for 2 more years. He's out of the loop.
Yeah.
So that is the challenge. If you're going to be...
I have Jeremiah Love on Dallas in the first round of my 2026 mock. And Javonte Williams has looked good. I'm not even sure the Cowboys are going to draft a running back now, to be honest. Javonte Williams has looked better than I thought he'd be in the first 3 games with the Cowboys.
Well, yeah. And, you know, Javonte Williams is just, I don't even know how you want to put that. He kind of was to the point where
I thought Javonte Williams got like a 2 or 3 year deal. I thought Javonte got like a 2 or 3 year deal. He only got a 1 year deal. Jerry Jones. But here's the thing. Ron and I joked about this on the hockey show. You know, Russia and Ukraine have one thing in common. The most searched team in both countries is the Dallas Cowboys. So Jerry Jones might be the key to ending the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I never thought I would say that about the Cowboys owner. That's why William's chuckling out so hysterically.
Oh, man, I actually did the unthinkable last night, and I signed a Dallas Cowboy to one of my fantasy football rosters. And I'm almost ashamed.
What, you want to send Jerry Jones over to one of those countries and because the Cowboys are the favorite
in the whole damn
NFL team of both Russia and Ukraine?
In the whole damn team.
I don't care if he comes back or not. You know, he can live like a king. I don't care. As long as he is out of the NFL spotlight.
It's so awful, but it's so funny. It's like I'm actually laughing. I know we got to get to Nicholas Singleton, the number 2 running back on the rankings, who I also have a first round grade on, but it's like this comment, it's a rebuttal by Joey. It's just so good. I can't help myself, William. I'm not focused. I need to be focused. I agree with your dog. We need to give Nicholas Singleton his flowers. But yeah, Nicholas Singleton, Penn's rushing touchdowns on the year for Singleton. Hasn't had a 100-yard game, but to be fair, him and his teammate Katron Allen split the carries in the backfield. And if Singleton goes off for 100 yards tonight, people are going to forgive him for the start. I mean, right now, he has not had a game with 100 total yards all season. He had 19 yards and 19 rushing yards, 37 receiving yards against Nevada. He had 76 rushing yards against Florida International, and he had 91 total yards against Villanova. So he's got to put together that signature game, because there are some other scouting services that have other running backs ahead of Singleton, not just because he lacks that signature game on tape, but because he's got to play Oregon tonight. This is the put up or shut up game for Nicholas Singleton, and that put box last year. He was good in pass blocking, good at ball carrier vision, good speed. He checked every box. Only want to see that signature game that validates why he should be drafted in the first round.
Here's something I've been hearing. I've been hearing that the Browns and several other teams like Drew Aller early in the first round. So if that's the case, and Drew Aller puts up numbers and makes people really respect the passing game, that's where the numbers in the running game for Singleton are going to come in, because teams aren't going to be able to just front load the line on Singleton So Singleton's not just going to get 75, 80 yards gain and a couple touchdowns.
He hasn't had a 100-yard game, but people need to be patient. There really wasn't that signature game. If you remember, leading up to the 2023 draft, none of the receivers had a signature game until week 4 or 5. And then as soon as Quentin Johnston had 200 receiving yards on Kansas, Dane Brugler tweets, "Wide receiver 1." And he just does WR1, those 3 letters. 3 letters. And that's how Quentin Johnston became wide receiver 1. You can dispute it, William. You can dispute that all you want, but that's how this stuff works. It's pre-selection to a degree.
How this is going to work right now. Singleton's ultimate draft position, in a lot of ways, is going to be dependent on Allen's play and whether he can live up to that, what I've been hearing about him.
If
they get 10, 11 guys up front, and Singleton grass out is going to go down.
it is. It's not. I'm not ready to move. There are a few draft rankings that have moved him out of the first round entirely. I'm not ready to do that. Signature 100-yard game against Oregon or Ohio State, that is going to keep him in the first round by a thread. And if he doesn't, someone else on this list is going to jump him.
That's going to depend on Howard, because if Howard can have a 200, 250-yard game tonight, guess what's going to happen? Singleton's going to have 120 yards. So if Howard is not something that is should be difficult. I think what? One of the best running backs in this class.
And a 92 on Aller. The big question is, does Singleton reach that upside, or does he just become another flash in the pan?
And that is a hell of a question, and it might depend on quarterback do. And that's what I think is going to happen. What's quarterback do? Singleton, you're going to have to take advantage of whatever happens.
Yeah, William, what are your thoughts on the backs? We've got 3 second-rounder. What your thoughts are on the 2 first-round running back, Love and Singleton? Do you like either guy? Do you think either guy's overhyped to a degree? I'm just trying to pick your brain on those 2 running backs.
Are you talking to me? You talking to me?
Yes. Yes, William, I was talking to you.
Oh, I got you. No, Jeremiah Love, was a big thing at the end of last season. He got a chance to show, that he could play running back, because of the college football playoff, and just how far Notre Dame went, and he was able to come out, and he, by first round running back, I mean, specifically, the definition for that is superstar in my case. And I can see Love. He can definitely play in this league. He can definitely, might not be what I would consider a high end first round choice, but I mean, he is a player that can come out and absolutely change a game, can grind it out with the best of them. And I mean, I definitely like him, and I definitely feel that he will be a first round running back. As for what's his name?
Singleton, the Penn State running back.
Yeah. Singleton, he's a young guy, and he's another one that is on this team as a, how would you want to put it? this is a running team. And
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Two of their top 4 players are running backs. That's why Penn State's so run heavy.
Yeah, exactly. And Aller, isn't exactly
Aller
the
and the
greatest
left guard are the other
throwing the ball.
top 4 players in their roster. So their 4 best players on offense are all offensive players: running back, quarterback, left guard, number 2 running back. That's their top 4 players.
But he has disappeared at times. Playing with Penn State, and just to the point, I would like to see more consistency. I would like to see more flash from more big plays from him. I mean, he's a good player, and he shows that he has a physique. He's what's 6 foot, 220 pounds, something like that. He's a big dude, and the guy's probably his thighs are probably big around as my waist, and I'm a certified badass. But I think he just needs to come out and for him to get started in the first round conversation, he has to show that consistency that I'm talking about. He has to maybe hit a home run or a big play, just a little bit quicker or a little bit more often, but again, I definitely wouldn't put him in the first round at this point. Is he capable of it? I would say yes. And, but he's got some things to show before he can.
Yep. And we've got 3 second-round running backs that I think all 3 of these guys are capable of jumping Singleton and supplanting him as that first-round back. We've got Washington running back Jonah Coleman, Oregon running back Mekhi Hughes, and Michigan running back Justice Haynes. I'm going to start with Coleman, though. I like him the best of the 3 here. And Coleman's off to a red-hot start. And what I mean is I have not watched much tape on Jonah Coleman. Out of the guys here, Coleman's the guy I've watched the least amount of tape on. But Jonah Coleman, 177 yards and 24 carries against 2 touchdowns against Colorado State, 15 carries, 111 yards, 5 touchdowns against UC Davis. And then he had 59 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns against Washington State, but he made up for it with 104 receiving yards. So he's had 100 yards either through the air or on the ground in every game this season. Today, Jonah Coleman plays Washington State, Ohio State at 3:30 on CBS. Penn State plays Oregon, so this is a big draft game for Singleton. Notre Dame plays Arkansas at noon, so there's a lot of big games for these running backs. So at least the top 3, all the running backs today have very big games. And Jonah Coleman's been off to a fantastic start. He has 51 carries, 347 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, 8 receptions, 150 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown, 497 total yards, and 10 total touchdowns in 3 games. So when I say Jonah Coleman's been red hot, he has been red hot. And if he does what he's done today against Ohio State, even in a 27-24 loss, I think that validates him being a first-round guy, William and Joey. If Coleman gets 100 yards against Ohio State, but they lose by a field goal, I would argue that makes him a round 1 guy. And may probably running back too.
Those are some pretty
because I just can't ignore this
dude.
production. 10 touchdowns in 3 games is incredible.
It is incredible, but I won't say it makes running back too because it really depends on how he gets those yards. Is he getting those yards by doing them 1 cut back and hitting the hole, or is he just putting his helmet down like Scatterboo and putting a freaking hole in somebody's chest? I mean, that guy Scatterboo is late round pick, but he's probably going to have a short career, and that's not good for NFL draft prospects.
Yeah.
How is he getting yards? Is he hitting the cuts? Is he hitting the hole? He's
hitting the cuts. He's hitting the holes against Colorado State. He's hitting those cuts. He's hitting the holes.
Ohio State right now, man.
Ohio State's playing them today. How is he going to hit Ohio State? Well, Texas's running back Wisner had 80 yards against Ohio State. No touchdowns, but he had 80 rushing yards. I think Coleman can get 100. I'm not sure if he can get in the end zone on Ohio State, but I think Coleman is a better player than Wisner, and I think he can get 100 yards on Ohio State, but he might have 0 touchdowns. 100 total yards. I'm not saying 100 rushing, but I think 100 total yards is in the cards for him. But I don't know how many times he's going to reach the end zone.
Am I just one of the only ones to think? I mean, just the couple of running backs like this guy Coleman that we're talking about, 5'9", 229 pounds. I'm reading off here. I mean, that's like a freaking bowling ball, man. And that's the same thing as or built. You know, because Scatabo is what, like 5'9", 5'10", 220, 225, somewhere in there. Todd Brooks was about the same, about 5'9", 5'10", 230. I mean, that could be a pretty good package to bring down, and that's probably why he's scoring so much and showing a nice snazzy stats. I mean, but I haven't got a chance to see a whole lot of him this year.
I'm basically watching whatever game film, whatever clips are available, because I haven't really had the chance to watch him. The next 2 running backs, we've got 2 guys that were acquired in the portal. Mekhi Hughes, Tulane running back who transferred to Oregon, and then Justice Haynes, Alabama running back who transferred to Michigan. I'm going to start with Mekhi Hughes. I'm slightly higher on Hughes. I was actually considering Hughes over Jeremiah Love at running back at one point in the draft process, because Mekhi Hughes was a beast at Tulane. He is the reason Tulane won the American Athletic Conference last year. The problem is Mekhi Hughes has not done shit at Oregon. Bell cow at Tulane, and the X factor behind them winning with the American Conference this year. Mekhi has 17 carries for 70 yards and 0 touchdowns.
Well, I think that is a product of the Oregon offense. Remember, the Oregon offense, they never produced first or second round running back. They produced third and fourth round running back.
Well, they did produce Jonathan Stewart, if you remember, 2008 first round pick. But I don't think they've produced a first round pick at running back since Jonathan Stewart.
Okay, we're talking sometime within the last decade, Fred. Because the coaching staff here, this is the key reason I think they brought Dylan Gabriel to Oregon, because Dylan Gabriel, if you remember, I got Captain Checkdown.
And they brought Dante Moore to Oregon, too. After Bo Nix was drafted, they brought in 2 quarterbacks, Dylan Moore, and the plan was for Moore to behind Gabriel for a year.
Well, the thing is, they brought him in because check down. They brought in Captain Checkdown to check down. Okay, that's all they do. Oh man, we brought in the defense. We throw it over here. We don't even hit over the top ball because we're afraid to go deep. So they don't run as much, but when they do run, it's supposed to be effective. That's the Oregon offense. But it doesn't produce a lot of every now and then you'll get a 110-yard game, whatever.
33 yards against Oregon State in the Civil War.
As much as I do Gabriel shit, I do Gabriel shit because nobody to run that offense. I give the running back a lot more credit than I give the quarterback. Here's the only quarterback that has amounted to anything in the NFL from Oregon over the last 20 years. Oh, yeah, Herbert. I believe it was Herbert.
Yep. Oregon started getting quarterbacks into the NFL in 2003 with Joey Harrington, and then they had Dennis Dixon, and then they had a few other guys after that, Mariota. But Herbert's really the only one that became something significant, like a big-time NFL star.
Bo Nix is they're really strong on that one. But outside of that, the running backs are always overlooked because the offense they run.
Yep.
So you have to judge the running backs on the runs they have and how they make those runs rather than the overall stats. Because the offense is.
Yeah, and the reason Oregon went out and got Mekhi Hughes to replace Jordan James is simple. He had 1,378 yards, 7 touchdowns as a freshman at Tulane when Michael Pratt was there. And then last year he had 1,401 yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. Then he had 176 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. So Mekhi Hughes, there's a reason why Mekhi Hughes. I know his Oregon tape's been underwhelming, but if you watch his Tulane tape, there were people that had him graded ahead of Jeremiah Love in the summer. And at one point, I did have him as my running back 1, Mekhi Hughes. So he's a talented football player.
He definitely is. I'm a huge fan of Hughes. No pun intended. I'm just upset that he chose Oregon because outside of Bo Nix, since Harvard, it's all been checked down.
Well, there were only 3 other schools that gave him an offer in the portal. Ole Miss, Duke, Colorado. Those are the 3 schools that offered him.
I would have chosen Ole Miss because Ole Miss, no matter how you put it, they have an offense that is balanced. And he would have gotten his opportunity.
Yep.
And they would have spread the field to give him better opportunities. Whereas Oregon's just going to have captain check down of the next generation come in here and check it down to everybody else and let those.
Yeah, Dan Lanning is smiling like Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. And he's like, excellent. We can minimize Mekhi Hughes' carries and use him sparingly.
Yes.
Keep his carries high. Excellent, Mr. Smithers.
Yes.
To shed the thought that I need captain check down to run my offense, and you have a running back that is one of the best in the nation, and you can't do it. So I'm really disappointed in Oregon because they got one of the best in the country, and they're squandering him because, you know what, we just got to keep checking it down. We're going to keep throwing it to the Tigers and hoping they get a 20-yard gain after a 5-yard catch. It's like, dude, you got one of the best running backs. Come on.
I think Singleton or Hughes is going to get 100 yards tonight, and whoever does is going to win the Oregon-Penn State game. That's my prediction. Because both those running backs, one of those running backs is due to break through and get 100 yards. Okay?
The only difference is Hughes only needs opportunity. Whereas Singleton, there is the absolute best of his quarterback because and both of them are hamstrung by the offense that run. Both the offenses suck. Whoever the offensive coordinators are, the head coach, they suck at their offense. It is a horribly driven offense of both teams. So they're both hamstrung.
And this is a game where both defenses are going to come in and figure out, okay, we need to stop Dante Moore. We need to stop Drew Aller. So I think both coaches have been saving their running backs for this game to try to control the tempo and the offense and the flow.
Because the best player, I love Drew Aller. I have said it before, I love Drew Aller. He's got to show up. But the bottom line is, you hit on the head, Chris. You stop those 2 running backs, all you got the traditional captain check down and the lackluster pass.
And I think both coaches, I think both Dan Lanning and James Franklin have had this game circled for months, meaning they both know this is the game where they want their running backs to go off and jumpstart the offense. They've been waiting for this game to be the game where they have their running backs jumpstart the offense. That's why
I am absolutely sure of that. These two these two guys, Franklin and Lanning, I mean, this is the game that's going to set the pace for their entire season, both teams. So they have to get their running back, and they have to freaking absolutely
because they want to give
the game freaking
Singleton 20 carries. The problem is they're playing weak opponents. They don't want their running backs to get injured, and they probably both circled this game, William, as the game where they're going to both try to control the time of possession. I bet both Lanning and Franklin were thinking the same thing when the schedule first came out, because if we give Hughes Singleton too many carries, he might get injured, and then we won't have him for the Oregon game. But this game, I think they're both teams are going to try to run the ball and control the time of possession.
Very much so.
So I believe the winning running back will have over 100 yards in tonight's game between Hughes and Singleton. There's another Penn State running back, K-Trone Allen, but he's my running back 6.
Right here, right now, we have two offenses that are stagnant. They're relying on outdated concepts, and you guys are the best in the nation right here. I couldn't agree with you guys more. This has to be the game. This is the biggest game these two teams are going to play all year, outside of the Ohio State games, which I know they're both going to play. This is the biggest game.
And the Big Ten championship.
Well, not both of them are going to make the Big Ten championship. I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah. But the Big Ten championship is still a big game.
Yeah, but this right here,
they're going to look.
That sets these two prospects apart from everybody else. And if they both hit 100 yards, we're looking at a completely different racing next week.
Yep. I mean, I made a few tweaks to my quarterback rankings from week 3. A few tweaks. I'll pull that up in a second, because remember, I had Klubnik in round 1 last week, and I think we are all in agreement. Even if Clemson runs the table, I think round 2 is the earliest Klubnik would get picked. So the tweaks to my running back rankings, I've still got Nussmeier at 1, Aller at 2, Sellers in the top 10, but Mateer and Beck are now the 2 first-round quarterbacks. Klubnik is locked into round 2 as my QB6. Fernando Mendoza moves up from round 4 to round 2. Look, if Mendoza had a game with 300 total yards, I'd put him in round 1. But right now, he's just playing smart, avoiding turnovers, and managing the game. And I think that's enough to move him up into round 2.
Makes me want to drink. Okay? It's like anybody who thinks they're going to find that franchise quarterback in this class, you have a couple quarterbacks with basic, intangibles that could be great, but...
Do you think I have a quarterback in the top 5 my big board? I have a quarterback in the top 5 my mock draft due to the demand for the position. Do you think I have a quarterback in the top 5 my big board? I'll tell you my preseason top 5 big board, okay?
One of those drafts we've only had like twice in the last 20 years where no quarterback goes in the top 10. I'm looking at that right now because these guys are not it.
I think Nussmeier will. Aller might. I don't think Sellers will go in the top 10. I think he's more of a round 1 guy than a top 10 guy, but because he has the arm talent, he has a fringe shot of going in the top 10 if Nussmeier and Aller both go in the top 5. It just depends on how the market dictates the quarterbacks. But let's get back to the running back rankings. Because if I were giving you my top 5 overall players from the preseason, I had Caleb Downs at 1, and I did a film cut for Caleb Downs. He's going to stay at number 1 unless he plays like crap or gets injured. I had Jeremiah Love at 2 on my big board, but I'm not sure he's the de facto number 2 player. My number 3 player in the preseason was Anthony Hill Jr., the Texas middle linebacker. My number 4 player was Peter Woods. Peter Woods and TJ Parker, the Clemson defensive end and Clemson defensive tackle, were 4 and 5. I had TJ Parker at 3, Anthony Hill Jr. at 4, and Peter Woods in the preseason. That was my preseason top 5. I'd say my top 5 now, Caleb Downs at 1. I want to put Jeremiah Love at 2 because of the upside, but I can't. I want to put Anthony Hill Jr. at 2. I need to see that 10 tackle game. I would probably argue that Jordan Tyson, the Arizona State receiver, might be the number 2 player, and then Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami would probably be 3rd for me. And then after that, it's wide open, Joey. After those 3 players, Caleb Downs, Jordan Tyson, Reuben Bain Jr., I think it's wide open. The last 2 spots from the top 5 are unclaimed at the moment.
Here's my thought on this. Outside of Downs, is there a defensive player in this draft better than Carson Schlesinger? Right?
There's 2. Carson Schlesinger's not all that. I had a 77 on him last year, a 3rd string grade.
This is very legitimate because he was the first pick in round 2.
There's 2 linebackers in this draft that are better than him. Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas and Austin Romaine out of Kansas State, who William and I have discussed on Under the Bleachers. If I ran the Browns, I would trade Schlesinger for an extra 1st-round pick, like when the Browns moved Trent Richardson, and then I would draft one of those linebackers, and I'd look like a genius, and Joey would want to shoot me. Joey would pretend he's Elmer Fudd, and he just, like, try to pop me.
So I do not blame you for that. But at the same time, you can't argue. He was the first pick in round 2, so it is a legitimate question.
I think there's 2 linebackers in this draft that are better than him. And in my defense, I had a 3rd string grade on Schlesinger at UCLA. I know he's outperformed team expectations. I know coaches have raved about him.
I just wanted the thought process of the top.
And look, Carson Schlesinger had 10 tackles. But I'm like, all right, I'll give Carson Schlesinger player of the game if there's not another player on the Browns defense with 10 big plays. Thing is, Grant Delpit had 9 tackles, and he did have the interception. So that was the thought process in Delpit getting player of the game over Schlesinger. Okay? That is a fair prop process, Joey. I'm not taking anything away from Carson. He had a terrific week 3 game. I think Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami is better. Caleb Downs is better, obviously. Reuben Bain Jr., you see what he did against Notre Dame?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. You know,
so, though, I like 2 linebackers in this draft a little bit more than Schlesinger, even if he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. I love Anthony Hill Jr. He is my favorite middle linebacker in college football since Roquan Smith. And Austin Romaine, the player I showed William the tape on, William's a big fan of Romaine. Even though Kansas State's 1-3, I would still take Austin Romaine in the 1st round. What does that say about Austin Romaine?
I think that says a lot about Austin Romaine. He can be better in your scenario. What's your defensive rookie of the year? If he is the defensive rookie of the year, that's amazing. I mean, I am all for it.
Look,
that's in your scenario.
Austin Romaine's been consistent too, even though Kansas State's been 1-3. He's consistent. 8 total tackles and 1 fumble recovery against Iowa State. 10 total tackles against North Dakota. 10 total tackles against Army. 9 total tackles against Arizona State. He's been very consistent. He had 96 tackles last year. He rushes the passer. He stops the run. He drops back into coverage. To the Texans, but like Romaine's a guy I have in day 1. And I'm going to die on that hill, William. You could die on that's fine. But I'm telling you, Romaine's a guy I have locked in day 1. Those 2 guys are better. Those 2 middle linebackers are better than Schlesinger. I don't know how the rest of the middle linebackers stack up. The rest of the middle linebackers in college football stack up. I believe both of them are going to go on day 1. I believe both Hill and
right there. Because the I never thought it. The first player that went in day 2 was a linebacker. So guess what? Who is going to go in day 1?
And for everybody wondering why, I was only going to do 15 running backs initially, but then I asked the draft professor, is 15 running backs too few? And he's like, we're doing 40. We're doing 40 on the draft professor show in 2 weeks. We're breaking down 40 running backs. I'm like, it's too many. 40 you're not going to get drafted. I didn't tell him that. I did not tell him that because I don't want to dismiss his creativity. But it's like when William, I texted William yesterday and I said, William, how many more running backs should we rank? He suggested 10. I only put 5 in because I went through Charlie Campbell's running back rankings this morning. He only has 19 getting drafted. So I decided to expand it to 20 because I think if you were medium, I had 15, William had 25. 20 is the fine medium.
That's a fine medium. I'm good with that. It's like, but then you have 40. Like they're on growth. I mean, they are young.
This is the draft professor. How can the draft?
Well, we might have to do a great job after the show. And my guy, when he gets to 25 running back, he's like, I need some wisdom, and it ain't natural. So we going hardcore here because we know Yoda went hardcore, and he did pretty fine. So,
So what are we at with these running backs, anyways?
So when you get that high, you're definitely getting that high.
Okay, the next player is Justice Haynes. And believe me, after the running back rankings, and we're going to have some other fun topics on the show. We're going to have playoff updates for both the MLS and MLB, maybe WNBA if we have time, and then we'll get into a top 15 big board. I'm only going to go through a top 15 big board for the MLS briefly. I'll mention the goals, assists, the accolades. I'm not going to go into further detail on the players because I know William wants to get to NFL predictions, and I'm trying my best to balance everything out. So Justice Haynes, final second-round running back. Justice Haynes wasn't even listed in the EA Sports video game. They didn't even put him in the game after putting Donovan Edwards on the cover last year. What the hell, EA Sports? If you're going to leave Michigan players out or Ohio State players out of your game, you're going to get roasted for that. If you leave a guy from North Texas or Central Michigan out, we're going to be disappointed, but we'll understand. Haynes might be better than Donovan Edwards. And right now he's off to a fantastic start. He's 537 yards, 6 touchdowns. Bryce Underwood has carried the Wolverines offense on his ratings. You got to roast EA Sports College Football for leaving him out of the video game. Yeah, Just Haynes has got to be running back 5, and I've got him in the second round. He's my final second-round running back. This is another strong running back class, and Justice Haynes, he should be a day 2 pick. He was Jalen Milroe's bell cow before he came to Michigan. That's the other thing people forget, William. He was Milroe's bell cow for I think he was he was on Alabama in 2023 and 2024. So he was Jalen Milroe's bell cow, you know? So I'm not even sure how the hell EA Sports left him out of the game. They didn't even put him on the Bama or the Michigan roster. So that is just inexcusable. And I think you're going to see Haynes' numbers go up. He's going to have 1,000 yards by the time Michigan plays Ohio State. He's already at 537 on the year. So
for sure. And you know, this is a running back. He came in and showed that he could play. I mean, there were plenty of flashes when I watched him playing with Milroe. and I can say, like you just said, that this is another deep running back class, or pick your poison to the type of running
if
back
Singleton
class,
slips up, all three of the second-round guys could jump him. Jonah Coleman could jump him. Mekhi Hughes could jump him if he goes off for Oregon tonight. Justice Haynes, you can make an argument right now that, in a sense, he's already jumped Singleton with his consistency so far.
One guy that intrigued me last year was at Cal, and that was Oklahoma Sooners running back, Jaden Ott.
He's on this list too, but his rushing yards from Oklahoma are down from last year. But he's on this list, William.
Yes, sir.
He's on the list. I did include him. He wasn't on the top 15 initially, but when we increased the list to 20, he did get one of the spots. So he's on the list.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyway.
And thank you, William, for convincing me to expand the running back list.
You're welcome.
You've turned a bland podcast into a somewhat entertaining podcast. And you and Joey and I have your eternal gratitude for that. And the only third-round running back I have is Katron Allen. He's the backup to Singleton on Penn State. Notre Dame's backup running back actually outperformed Jeremiah Love against Texas A&M. So I think Charlie Campbell has a third, fourth on him, but I didn't include Notre Dame's backup in the rankings.
I'm going to add to what it's like. Anybody who knows about the Fabulous Freezer is like, William is kind of like our Jimmy Jam Garver. It's like, sometimes he comes along. When he does, he makes an impact. It's like he's the free bird that makes the impact and makes it happen. So, I gotta say, William, you're on Jimmy Jam. You're the one that comes in here and is like, I want to take the sledgehammer to this shit, and we're gonna make something good.
Well, it's not, intentional. Fully.
I love how humble you are about this too. But yeah, Katron Allen actually did have 144 yards against Florida International. He did have a 100-yard game, but it's Florida International. He's the number 2 running back. I think Penn State's running back depth is probably the reason why they beat Oregon tonight. But if Oregon can find a way to go into Happy Valley and win that game, because James Franklin, he does have a tendency to choke in big games. So Oregon could steal this game. It just depends on which team has a better job controlling the ball on the ground. But I think both coaches are going to rely on the running game and try to limit their team's ability and time possession. I think that's going to be the game plan for both teams. And yeah, I've got a third round grade on Allen. So Penn State's going to be that team with 2 day 2 running backs, just like Ohio State was last year, Joey, with Henderson and Judkins. Penn State's probably going to be the team with 2 day 2 running backs in Singleton and Allen. So,
well, if you're going to look at it like that, you've got to start looking at it as the way we started looking at it a little bit. It's like, are they really day 2 running backs, or are they potentially day 1 running back that you are going to put in?
I've got a first round grade on Singleton at the moment, but that could change. I've got a third round grade on Katron Allen, but that could change.
So if they both end up as first round, and that would be the direct thought this week.
Yep.
From last year with Ohio State.
We've got a bunch of 4th round running backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4th round running backs. We're going to start at Pittsburgh, though. Desmond Reed, the Pitt Panthers running back. Desmond Reed, really good running back on Pittsburgh. Took a lot of pressure off Eli Holston. And interesting, Desmond Reed has been ruled out against Louisville. I don't know if he's injured. 142 yard. No Desmond Reed again, but Desmond Reed games with injuries. I mean, he's good when he's healthy. Last year he had 966 yards as a junior. As a sophomore, rushing touchdowns, 897 yards. He only had 5 touchdowns as a junior. And Desmond Reed, he has the ability to be great. I mean, very high upside, but very low floor, and he's injury prone.
Just throwing it out there. I like Eli Olsen better.
Eli Holston, the Pitt quarterback, you like him more as a prospect than Desmond Reed?
Yeah. He's available more. He shows, I believe, he shows more awareness of his surroundings and such. And in the NFL, it's like, you don't want awareness? Look at freaking Jerome Ford, all the talent in the world. Guess what? He has no awareness. That's what happens. He runs into his own offensive lineman. He runs into defensive players. He runs into everybody.
Yeah, Desmond Reed is they gave Desmond Reed an 85 for awareness, Eli Holstein an 80 for awareness. I've got a 91 for potential on Desmond Reed, but he's a long shot to reach that ceiling. And the reason I say he's a long shot, he's already missed some games with some injuries this year after regressing from 13 rushing touchdowns to 5. He did improve his rushing yards as a junior. He is consistent, but the size, 5'8", 175. When you come into the NFL at 5'8", 175, teams look at you and say you're too small, you're not strong enough, you're not durable enough, and you're pretty much locked into the day 3 territory. You're pretty much locked into day 3 at that point. Even if you live up to your potential and become good, you are locked into day 3 at that point.
You have to look at it like this. Dylan Sampson was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. He went in round 5 because he was 5'8". But Dylan Sampson was 200 some pounds. Okay, so if you're looking at it from a size point of view, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year went in 5 as a running back. Let that sink in. So if you're 5'8", 170 something, what hope does that give the 178-pound guy?
I'm looking at the game logs. I want to see who he ran for 100 yards against, just out of curiosity. Not saying this is going to matter in the grand scheme of things. It probably won't, but I'm just curious. So he is not at 100 yards this season. He had 66 against Duquesne, 46 against Central Michigan, but 100 total yards against the Chippewas. And West Virginia held rushing yards in their overtime. And Pitt led that game against Virginia West Virginia 2 weeks ago. Pitt led that game, but they couldn't run the football. And 30 yards, you got to have more from Desmond Reed against a team like West Virginia in the backyard brawl. And the previous year, West Virginia held him to 26 rushing yards when Pitt hosted that game. But he also showed he had 148 yards on Dante Corleone and 106 receiving yards when Pitt beat Cincinnati. That's the type of player this guy is. He can go off, and he had 120 yards against Cal, 155 receiving yards against North Carolina and Chapel Hill. He had 108 receiving yards against Clemson last year. So this is a good running back. But like Des...
He might be a great third down back. But at 178 pounds, are you telling me he's going to go up against Myles Garrett and do anything? Myles Garrett's going to eat his ass for lunch. TJ Watt's going to eat his ass for lunch. Best middle linebackers in the league, they're going to eat his ass for lunch. 178 pounds, but he may be a great third down back.
I've got a 91 out of 99 on him for potential, but his floor is closer to the 60s, and he's going to need 5 or 6 years maybe to reach his ceiling. He's not going to get that much time in the NFL. NFL running backs have a very short lifespan. He's not going to get that much time. He's going to have to show teams what he can do with the opportunities he gets.
Here's the thing. If you use him correctly and you can develop him into a pass blocker, you can use him on third down, and you can...
I think his upside's higher than Dylan Sampson. Neither William or myself was high on Sampson, but Sampson has exceeded our expectations to a degree. Because I had Sampson in like round 6 last year. Tony Mario had Sampson in round 7. So outside of you, nobody else at Draft Utopia was high on Dylan Sampson.
And what does that tell you about a guy that is very similar to Dylan Sampson, but 30 pounds lighter and the same height, that is not as accomplished? What's that say about his future?
Well, I have Desmond Reed as my top 4th round running back, but I have got 4 other running backs with a 91 potential grade. I'm open to moving one of those guys ahead of Reed. We've got Damone Claiborne, Wake Forest, Quintrevin Wisner, Texas, Anthony Hankerson, Oregon State, Darius Taylor, Minnesota. Let's look at Claiborne, because some have Claiborne going in day 2. Let's look at Claiborne, and then we'll make a verdict on whether to move Desmond Reed down. Is that fair? Because I still have a 4th round grade on Reed. I'm not going to change that, but I'm open to actually having a conversation about moving some of these guys behind Reed ahead of him. I'm open to having that conversation, Joey.
I'm just trying to get you to think about situations and how things are probably looking to NFL evaluators.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get your opinion on it.
But at the same token, 30 yards against West Virginia, that's not the greatest performance. And Damone Claiborne, Damone Claiborne has right now 25 carries, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 9.9 yards a carry. That is not a typo, Joey. He's only had 25 carries, but he's had 247 rushing yards. So he's averaged 9.9 yards a carry. That is not a typo, as much as I'd like it to be.
9 yards a carry is
9.9. 9.9, Joey. That's 1 percentage shy of 10 yards a carry. That's 1 percentage point shy. 9.9 is 1 percentage point shy of 10 yards a carry. That's what Claiborne's done in 25 carries.
How many carries do you have? 9.9?
Yeah.
10 yards. You're basically saying this guy's got 10 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, you can't really say that anything bad about yours per time. You can say volume, and that's a very real situation. Probably not going to have that high, but at the same time, if you're looking at making the best of your opportunities, that's what you're looking at right there. You're making the best of your opportunities. And nobody can fault a young man for making the best of his opportunity.
Yep. So Georgia Tech's playing Wake Forest on ESPN. So if you want to watch Claiborne, you can head over to ESPN and take a look at some of the carries he's getting. I think we are going to move Claiborne ahead of Reed. I've seen enough. Claiborne, 5'10", 195. Does he need to put on a little bit of muscle? Yes, but the 9.9 yards a carry, I just can't ignore that. And if both players have a 91 potential, they're both 4th round grades, I just think we got to move Claiborne ahead of him, because there's some people that have Claiborne in day 2. So we're going to move Claiborne ahead. But this is why we have these discussions, William, especially when there's uncertainties and tiebreakers and the competition's this close, it's this stiff. These conversations are necessary when things are this tight. Is there anybody else that, we are going to get to, we're going to get to Jay Knott pretty soon, William. I have him in round 5, but we've got 3 other running backs we got to get to first for round 4. We'll talk Wisner. Wisner has not played since the Ohio State game, but he had 80 carries in that game. 80 yards on 16 carries, no touchdowns. Wisner and Baxter are both pretty good for Texas. I'm not opposed to moving Wisner ahead, but I want to see what Wisner's done before I crown him. I want to see what exactly he's done. So he hasn't done anything the last 2 weeks. It sounds like, I don't know if he's been injured, but he had 16 carries for 80 yards against Ohio State. He has not since then. Texas plays Florida today in Gainesville. So, Arch Manning versus Lagway. Lagway really does need a bounce back game. 2027 is looking very stagnant outside of Raiola right now and Sayin.
Underwhelming potential number one overall pick.
Well, to be fair, Lagway and Arch Manning have been underwhelming. Dylan Raiola for Nebraska's been good. Julian Sayin's been good. Nico Imaleva, I don't know what the hell I was thinking when I put him in the first round of my 2027 mock. Owen McCown, we'll wait and see.
So, we're definitely in agreement on that one.
Owen McCown, 2 interceptions. He got Texas A&M, but Owen McCown has bounced back the last 2 weeks with 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I'll pull up the game logs for Owen McCown. He had, to be fair, he went 19 for 32 against Texas Tech. He didn't throw an interception, but he didn't throw a touchdown either. And then downs, no interceptions, and they lost Texas State. And then he went 30 for 36 against Incarnate World, and then 173 yards against Colorado State last Saturday in Colorado State. So he helped UTSA beat Colorado State, and now we're at the point in the season where we're going to see conference play for Owen McCown, but that's not until October 4th when it's the Temple. And speaking of Temple, there is a running back Temple that we are going to get to today. But Wisner, I've got Wisner. I'm going to leave Wisner behind Desmond Reed for now because Wisner hasn't played since the Ohio State game, and it's like you say, Joey, the best durability, the best abilities availability. So I'm going to leave him behind Reed for now because Anthony Hankerson of Oregon State's the next guy I'm going to mention. This is a good running back class. I hope you're taking notes for your dynasty leagues, William. I hope you are taking some notes for your dynasty leagues because Anthony Hankerson only has 88 carries for 302 yards with the Oregon State Beavers this year. What do the game logs show? 5'8", 206. Hankerson is closer to Dylan Sampson in terms of size than Desmond Reed. And Hankerson had 136 rushing yards on Fresno State. He hasn't done anything. Oregon held him to 38 rushing yards in the 41-7 loss last week. Houston held him to 74 rushing yards. So outside of the Fresno State game, which Oregon State lost, he hasn't really done anything, and Oregon State's 0-5 for a reason. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings on Hankerson. I know Oregon State's a running back factory, but I don't know whether to move him up or down. I'm going to leave him where he's at, but make an argument for Hankerson ahead of Wisner, ahead of Desmond Reed.
They're pretty similar.
They backs, but you're more than likely getting a backup or third stringer.
And 2, you got to look at where they're coming from because if you're having a running back factory, that means you got to do less work to get these guys. Do less work to get these guys prepared. So in that case, I would move him up a couple spaces.
So we'll move him up to running back 8. We'll move him up to running back 8 behind Claiborne, and then Reed and Taylor will be 9 and 10. And Darius Taylor, the final running back we were going to mention, round 4, Minnesota running back, he's out for today's game. Well, the other running back that he's splitting carries with suffered a season-ending injury, so he will be the bell cow when he comes back. He had 30 carries for 141 yards against Buffalo. So they are really feeding him the rock in Minnesota, Darius Taylor, but I think I'm going to leave Taylor in round 4 for now. He does not have a touchdown yet, and he's out today with an injury. So I'm going to leave him at running back 10 because he's out. I'm going to leave him at running back 11 since he's out for today with an injury. So we're halfway through this list. And William, what are your thoughts? I have not heard from you in a while. Is your audio still working?
No way. No wonder I wasn't being heard, Chris. My damn microphone was off. Anyway, no, man. I had such a good joke too. You know, you were talking about Owen McCown a minute ago. You know, I was going to mention. You know, have they ever seen, you know, the McCowns and the Clausens in like the same place at the same time? It was a good joke at the time, but you know, so that just
we've got 2
that
fifth
just
round
ruins
running backs.
my entire
Before
thing.
we get to Williams' guy, Jaden Ott, I want to talk about Jamal Haynes, Georgia Tech running back, because we have 3. We have 3.
Well, Oklahoma sure as hell hasn't gotten to Jaden Ott
running back
yet either. I mean,
that's why I'm
that's
in round 5,
disappointing.
because Jaden Ott's potential as far as his ceilings in the 90s, but he's been underperforming to such a degree that I have to put him in day 3. It sucks because put him there, but I have to.
Well,
and if it continues, he might go undrafted.
Well, they just haven't. They just haven't played. They just haven't played him this year, like at all. And it's like last year, you know, I'm watching this guy, and he's got home run speed. He's 6 foot, you know, 210, something like that. I mean, they say he only runs like a 4.45 or something, but dude can. I mean, literally, his football speed is just up there. Like, yeah. Anyway, but I don't know what the hell, you know, Oklahoma's thinking. You know, they're too busy letting Jamal Haynes sling the ball around, and
I've got Jamal Haynes in round 5. Anyway. William, he had 107 Temple, 26 yards, 1 touchdown against Colorado, 92 yards against Gardner-Webb. I like Jamal Haynes. I think he does have potential. The problem is he's in an option offense at Georgia Tech, which
potential
Haynes gets more carries than Jamal Haynes, pretty much.
Yeah.
But they're winning games, so I can't really be a Georgia Tech fan either. Jamal Haynes in round 5, and fair, he's getting more touches than Jaden Ott, so that's why he's ahead of Ott. Ott's numbers are just
that's the one thing in college football, man. In college football, you know, college football doesn't show running backs very well, like at all. Whether
college football underutilizes tight ends
just their
and they
pass
underutilize running backs. Running backs and tight ends are underutilized more than any position in college football.
So it's definitely different, you know, doing these valuations on these running backs, you know, and seeing who they are.
Yards in 2023.
Yeah, and I mean, dude is, and I mean, through 3 games, I think
numbers are not.
He's run the ball 12 times
this year, but it's not his fault. 1 carry, -3 yards against Illinois State. 4 carries, 9 yards against Michigan. 4 carries, 11 yards against Temple. So he has 17 yards in 3 games because Oklahoma is minimizing him. I do think he has the upside to develop into a starter. The problem is he's not being utilized. And when NFL teams ask coaches about Jaden Ott, they're going to say this or that. Maybe they'll throw him under the bus just to justify their decisions as coaches, even if their decisions were wrong.
This is one of those running backs that is going to not have very much wear at all. When
Alvin Kamara didn't have any volume until
if I'm some of these coaches, if I'm some of these coaches and I like this kid, it's like, no, please don't show anybody, don't, you know, let him out there to get hurt. Don't. It's like just freaking, you know, you can get him for nothing, and that's why running backs, you know, only bring what, like, half the money they. I mean, their contracts are utterly freaking rip-offs and stuff, because so many of them just fall through, and there's so many of them to be had. I mean, all you gotta do pass them out the ball and freaking have it. But I don't know. Anyway, go ahead, proceed.
Yeah, and Jay Knott, you're right. I have Jay Knott in round 5 for that reason, but his upside's high, and he just has too much talent not to be noticed at this point in the process. And the final running back that had a 90 or higher potential is Baylor running back Bryson Washington. And it was my grading system. Anything above an 85 is a starter. Anything below an 85 is a backup. Anything below an 80 is a third string player. Anything in a 90 or higher is a player who could develop into a Pro Bowl talent. But there's so many guys in the 90s now in college football. It's like it's saturated the market to a degree. You have to bring your best every day, not just in college, but once you get to the NFL too. You have to bring your best to the everyday. Bring your best every day. And the final guy that I have in the running back rankings is a sophomore redshirt, Bryson Washington out of Baylor. Now, Bryson Washington out of Baylor is a sophomore redshirt, but just looking, he had a rough game against Auburn, 54 yards, 14 carries. He ran for 115 yards on 31 carries against SM, 35 yards. Please, ESPN muted, and then you can play your ad. So give users the option to mute or unmute ads, and make muted by default. Okay, that's all I'm asking for. You can't even get that right.
You tell them, Chris.
I mean, I have going on CFB stats, but I like going on college football stats for defensive players. For offensive players, I use ESPN, and it's just like, you guys are playing way too many ads. It's at the point where I have to go to Fox Sports or what other college football websites are out there. I have to put you on blast. I don't want to, but it's like, this has got to stop. But yeah, Bryce had 1,028 yards and 12 touchdowns, a true freshman redshirt at Baylor. 10 carries, 45 yards, a true freshman. Are you kidding me? I mute the ads, and then ESPN's like, we're unmuting the ads with or without your permission, bitch. No. I muted the video. I'm muting the video you're playing. Can I get rid of the latest videos feature?
Okay, man. I got a question. Bro.
Remove videos. This is another problem with ESPN. You got to give users the feature to remove videos if they don't want to hear them, or you don't give us that option. But yeah, this guy's a sophomore redshirt, William, and Bryson Washington is already at 415 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 5 yards a carry on 83 carries in 4 games. So he's a guy that's going to get noticed. And he's a guy who could potentially move up as this process approaches, Joey, because once we got to round 4, Joey began losing interest in these running back rankings, and very quickly after Claiborne. After Claiborne, Joey's interest in this running back draft went from like a 7 to a 3.
Well, my interest went down is that I wanted William to have his time because we pretty much dominated the show.
That's true. That's true. I respect that. But yeah, Bryson Washington's numbers are better than advertised. He might be the best 5th-round running back, but I don't know if he's going to declare either. He's a sophomore redshirt. Sophomore redshirts are wild cards. Sometimes they leave college early. Sometimes they go back. If he has a day 2 grade, he'll probably declare.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, he'll probably go back.
Yeah, and in this land of nil,
that's what a lot of players do with NIL in the portal now. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation. I have got 4 6th-round running backs. We're going to start with We're going to start with L.J. Martin out of BYU.
Who?
BYU's best running back since Tyler Algier. L.J. Martin. He was a Doak Walker candidate. And if there's any other websites besides ESPN that list the stats, the projections, we'll try Fox Sports. I'm not sure if Fox Sports is going to have ads or not. Videos. Okay. All right. We got news, biostats, and game log. This is a lot better. This is 1 rushing touchdown, 20 yards. The problem with Fox is they don't list the carries. They don't list how many carries the running back's taken. 40 attempts, but they don't list. All right, let's click on the game log. Let's see what we have for the LJ Martin game log. I'm just grateful Fox has no ads. That's all I'm going to say. LJ Martin's game log is actually pretty. LJ Martin, he opened up Portland State with 8 carries for 131 rushing yards. He also had 18 carries for 110 yards against Stanford, and then he had 14 carries for 101 rushing yards against LJ Martin. So, and LJ Martin,
big boy too.
BYU's starting quarterback entered the transfer portal before the season. Remember, after the sexual assault allegation or whatever it was at BYU, their QB entered the portal. So LJ Martin has stepped up in a massive way. My potential grade on LJ Martin is 89 out of 99. So I don't think he's a guy who could be a Pro Bowler, but he could be a high-end starter. He could be like a Jalen Warren type back.
He's a big boy too.
And I've got him in the 6th round. I've got LJ Martin in the 6th round. And then the next guy is Jaden Thomas. Jaden Thomas is a running back on UNLV, the Red Rebels. And Jaden Thomas.
Red Rebels. You said Jaden Thomas?
I am going to click on ESPN briefly. I should just 393 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, and 147 yards against Idaho, against Miami, Ohio. UCLA held him to 61 yards. That was the toughest opponent he's played. And then Levy, the final running back with an 89 potential grade, Levy and Moss out of Texas A&M's. We've talked about Levy and Moss for a few years, it feels like. Because after Achane left, I feel up right where, because I remember we talked about Achane, and then we were waiting for Levy and Moss to break out. 33 carries, 168 yards and touchdowns. He had 68 yards against Utah State, 81 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and a 41-40 win over Notre Dame. So, yes, Levy and Moss is pretty good. And then the running back with an 88 potential grade that cracked round 6 is Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher Jr., some have him going in day 2. And Mark Fletcher's numbers are too good to put him in the 7th round. And shit, they might be too good to put him in the 6th round. Mark Fletcher has been the man for the Miami Hurricanes. 388 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. I mean, I would argue he's been a better running back than Trevor Etienne. He had 120 yards, 66 against Notre Dame, 86 against Bethune-Cookman, and 5 rushing touchdowns all in his last 3 games. So, yeah. Well, I like Mark Fletcher as my final round 6 running back. You got any thoughts on those running backs? Because the final 2 running backs, William, are Carson Hansen of Iowa State and Jay Ducker out of Temple. So
yeah, I'm
so far, William, and do you want to lead off round 7?
I'm intrigued with some of
where I wrap things up with Jay Ducker.
Where are you at, Jay Ducker? Let's see. No, yeah.
Your audio off again, William.
Is it? Oh shit. Can you not hear me?
I can't. I see your microphone moving, but I don't think it's on. And damn it, screen share turned off. Now I hear you.
Now you can hear me. Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect. No, I was just intrigued by some of I'm seeing a couple of these guys are running down like that are 4-2 guys, 4-2, 4-3 guys. There's some fast running backs. There's some numbers here that are actually intriguing me a little bit. Now
Where are you getting these numbers? Because I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed that you got the 40 times for some of these running backs, William.
That depends. The 40 times are only good on to get an idea from NFL Draft Buzz, but the rest of their stuff is garbage between their copy and paste freaking reports, but they definitely list some 40s. So as for the size, the metrics, whatever, and stats, I generally use ESPN, for the most part, to be consistent.
I use ESPN for offense and college football stats for defense, because college football stats list things ESPN doesn't, like deflections, interceptions, tackles for loss, quarterback hurries, stuff that I think teams should be taking more into account.
The thing is,
ESPN kind of has a double standard for offensive players. They won't list the targets for wide receivers and running backs and tight ends in college, but they will list the targets for tight ends, receivers, and running backs in the NFL. And yes, ESPN, that's a double standard. Even if you deny the fact that that's a double standard, that is a double standard.
Yeah. And you
have the ability to do it for NFL players. There's no excuse not to do it for college. You have the target stat for NFL players. You have no excuse not to do it for college.
Yeah, for sure. But other than that, and then when people are looking for another good site for what do you call it, prospect visits, like right before the draft, is Walter Football. Yep. That's probably the best one for that.
I agree.
And I mean,
Joey used to design the draft simulator for Walter Football on Draft Debacle back in 2010. And Walter tried to buy me out once. I could get into that story. I'm not gonna. But what about Carson Hansen? Because Carson Hansen and Jay Ducker are the final two running backs on this list. Why don't you lead us off with Carson Hansen, William?
Let's see. Let me find him.
Because he was very streaky against Kansas State, but he caught lightning in a bottle in the fourth quarter, and that's the biggest reason Iowa State won that first week 0 game.
Oh, yeah, this is another one of those big boys, running 6'2", 220, man. Yeah, he's I saw a bit of him, playing with Rocco Beck, and this is he's a kid I like, but I'm not quite sure what that's going to show on his 40. Trying to do some research here at the same time. So far this year, though, I mean, he's got 54 carries, 252 yards, 0 touchdowns. That's 4.7 average. I mean, it's not doing too bad. He's a junior. And this is let's see. Where did you have him? You had him
round
in the 7th?
Yeah.
Round 7.
My other round 7 running back is Jay Ducker out of Temple, but I want to look at what Carson Hansen has done as far as his game log goes with Iowa State, and then I'll pull up Ducker. But Ducker is better than I thought he'd be. And the last running back from Temple draft was a 7th round pick in 2019. And before this running back drafted from Temple was Bernard Pierce, a 3rd round pick in 2012. Former Ravens running back Bernard Pierce. That was the last big-time star running back Temple had since Jay Ducker. They have not had a star like of that caliber since Ducker, but yeah. Carson.
Yeah, that's been a while.
I don't know why. I don't know why the NBA app is showing up on ESPN, the NBA. But yeah, 54 carries, 252 yards, 0 touchdowns on the year. I'll pull up the game log for Carson Hansen. 6'2", 220, like you said, William. 71 rushing, 19 receiving, 90 total yards against Kansas State. 26 total yards against South Dakota, but they blew out South Dakota. Iowa held them to 52 total yards. And then he ran for 106 Arkansas State, 130 total yards against Arkansas State games. Like, he had his game last week against Arkansas State, but 90 yards against Kansas State is good. 52 against Iowa State's not great, but he did enough for them to win. And Temple running back Jay Ducker. Jay Ducker is the person we're going to wrap this up with. But what I like about Jay Ducker is Jay Ducker went off against UMass. He had 75 yards on Georgia Tech. That's very encouraging for a Temple running back, William and Joey, because Temple hasn't produced a star running back since Bernard Pierce to the Ravens in 2012. So this Temple running back ran for 75 yards on Georgia Tech, who's undefeated right now. So that's very encouraging for a small school running back.
5.4 yard average, man.
Yeah.
That ain't bad at all. He even caught a ball.
Yep, and he's good pass catcher as well, like
for
you
15
stated.
yards.
So Jay Ducker got the final spot in my running back rankings. And I had him at RB15 before when my list was at 15. I moved him down to 20 after adding some guys. But yeah, Ducker is legit dog in this draft, a legit sleeper, a legit dark horse talent. So
definitely sounds like it.
Joey, what are your thoughts on this list? I thought this was a pretty good list. Was there a drop-off for you? Did it get a little bit bland after a certain point? Just want everyone's reaction to the list before we proceed into some other parts of the show.
It's not a bad list. It didn't get boring. It just, I think there's still a lot to be desired from these guys. But I think they all have different circumstances that normally won't be an issue. But in this weird college football season I'm seeing, where everything we thought that was going to happen has not happened, I think that is causing a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, and next week will be a more laid-back show. All we'll have is the fullback rankings. We could preview one of the conferences in the NBA if you want, Joey. But it depends.
What does anybody care about fullback?
I have 16 positions graded for my draft. Quarterback, running back, fullback. I call them fullbacks. I call them fullbacks. They can move to tight end, they can move to running back, but a fullback did get drafted last year. Kalel Mullings out of Michigan. He was like the number one fullback in college football for 2 years in a row. He got drafted by the Titans in the 6th round. So the fullback position is not dead yet. It lives on. Once it becomes officially dead, then we can skip it and move on to receivers. It's not officially dead yet. It might be on life support. I'll give you that, Joey. It's not dead yet. It's on life support.
But the body's still alive. That's what I'm saying. It's about maybe by next year you might have to get an HVAC because that's pretty much what the fullback becomes. And as much as I hate to say it, because I was recruited before my knees started going out as a fullback, so I hate to say it, but it is what it is. And
well, once we start seeing fullback rankings, I'm just curious, they had fullback rankings in the 2024 Phil Steele magazine. Do they have fullback? They have top 10. They have 10 fullbacks. I only do 5 fullbacks. I only post 5 fullbacks. I only list 5 fullbacks in my rankings each year. And I would argue probably Max Breslin, Michigan seniors, the top fullback. Terrence Carter Jr. is also a pretty good fullback. But Max Bredson's the younger brother of Ben Breslin, who was my number one fullback in 2020 or 2022. So it's like, yeah, Michigan's going to have the top fullback once again. Terrence Carter Jr. out of Texas. I'll look at Terrence Carter Jr. out of Texas Tech, but I think C.J. Donaldson and Breslin are going to be the top two fullbacks for this draft cycle. And then they have Rohan Jones of Arkansas, Ty Edwards, West Virginia. I did not start the fullback rankings. Usually when I code, I pull all-nighters and I get everything going. I basically I got some sleep last night, but I set my alarm to 6 a.m. The reason I got some sleep is, well, heading into Friday, I only had 16 hours of sleep on the entire week. Sunday was an all-nighter. Monday was an all-nighter. Wednesday was an all-nighter until 5 a.m. And then Thursday, I was up till like 4 a.m. recapping the Thursday night game on Thursday night. So, and then last night, I was up to like 3 a.m., but I actually got some 3 hours of sleep. So this is the first week I've done where I've gotten under 20 hours of sleep. And believe me, I will get some sleep tonight before the Sunday game in London. Okay, I will. I promise I'll get some sleep. Under 20 hours of sleep is a record.
Yeah, right. No
and
way.
it's like if I had pulled an all-nighter every day of the week, we would be getting to the point where Joey's telling the audience, I'm not a human, I'm an actual cyborg. And I just want to clarify, I am a human being with thoughts and feelings. I'm not a cyborg.
I can't say that right now because I've had one night sleep since Stardust. I'm running off 3-4 hours sleep a day. So I can't say that right now because I'm pretty much the same way, just for the home. Yeah.
So we're both getting only 3 to 4 hours of sleep, but football schedule's a grind. But I have 2 meetings on Monday morning. I don't know what they're about. Investors, maybe. Yeah, but we'll see where that goes. I'm not going to get into that on the air. All right, what else? The running back rankings are done. I'm going to update our audience on some standings, some playoff ring standings. WNBA, MLB, and MLS. I'm going to start with the WNBA. The Las Vegas Aces lead the Indiana Fever 2-1, and the Phoenix Mercury lead the Minnesota Lynx 2-1. Why am I doing this? Well, Tracy Porter requested WNBA updates, and those games, they're in the conference finals right now. The Aces and the Phoenix Mercury are 1 game away from the WNBA finals. In the preseason, I picked Minnesota Lynx over Indiana Fever, but that was before Caitlin Clark got injured. I think we're going to get the Aces. I think the Aces are going to punch the first ticket to the WNBA finals tomorrow, and Becky Hammond's going to try to get her 4th championship. Now that the New York Liberty, the team that knocked Becky Hammond out, are out of the tournament, I mean, the Lynx, I think the Lynx have the best starting lineup of any team in the league, but the problem is they're trailing the Mercury, and they have to go on the road to Phoenix tomorrow. If they can win that game in Phoenix, they'll probably win in 5 games, and they'll have home court against the Aces. And if they don't, we get Aces versus Mercury. I think the Aces would beat the Mercury. Aces Lynx is a little bit dicier because Minnesota was the only WNBA team with all 5 starters from last year's finals. That's a lot harder to project. And I just hate how they put the 8 best teams and they don't do Western Conference versus Eastern Conference. It's not traditional. If we have 2 Western Conference teams in a finals, whether it's WNBA or MLS Cup, I have very little interest in watching that as a fan. But we'll see what happens with the WNBA. But that's your WNBA update. I'm going to go to the MLB next, because I'm going to save the MLS for last because I do have a top 15 for the MLS Super Draft. So, and I'll get to that. I'm not going to go into great detail. I don't want to take up too much time because we've got NFL prediction too. So what do we have for the I think I'll pull up the MLB wild card race, actually. I'm pulling up the wild card standings at MLB.com right now. I am going to do a World Series show on Monday night because the games are on Wednesday. The games are on Tuesday. So I am going to do an MLB playoff show where we break everything down, reveal our World Series winners on Monday. But right now, Toronto has locked up the number 1 seed in the American League. The Seattle Mariners have locked up the number 2 seed. The Seattle Mariners have locked. Toronto has not locked up the number 1 seed. Toronto and the Yankees are so. From the Yankees, Mariners are 90 and Seattle would get the 1 seed in that series. Seattle's most likely at AL Central, both 86 and 74. Cleveland owns the head-to-head tiebreaker with 2 games left. But here's the thing: because the Astros lost the Angels last night, the magic number for Cleveland is 1. What does that mean? That means Cleveland pretty much clinches a playoff spot with a win or a Tigers loss to the Red Sox today or an Astros loss to the Angels. If any of those 3 scenarios happen, if they win or they get both a Tigers and Astros loss, they clinch a playoff spot. It's that simple. The Yankees, Blue Jays, the winner, the AL East runner-up pretty much has the 4 seed secured. Boston Red Sox, with their home win over the Tigers, punched the 5 seeds, and Guardians are battling for the last 2 playoff spots. That's the American League. Brewers are only a game ahead of the Phillies. The Phillies could steal home field from the Brewers. The Dodgers are the 3 seed. The Cubs at 90 and 70 are the 4 seed. The Padres at 88 and 72 have the 5 seed locked up. So we are going to get a Padres-Cubs wild card game. And the Reds and Mets are tied for the last wild card with 2 games to go. So that's where we're at. So the NL is pretty much set for the most part outside of the 6 seed. The AL not. And Cubs Mets, Padres Cubs, I think the series. I think whoever wins that will go to the World Series. I'm still sticking with my preseason pick. I have the Seattle Mariners beating the Los Angeles Dodgers in this year's World Series. Seattle finally gets a championship for the first time since the Seahawks pissed off William. They broke his heart. They broke William's heart, and they won Super Bowl 48. But I remember watching that Super Bowl away from my parents' house at Slippery Rock, and all the kids at Slippery Rock were rowdy as hell because like, wow, we're going to see a blowout in the Super Bowl. This is awesome. That's basically what all the kids in Rhodes Hall were thinking at the time. All the students like, wow, we're going to see a blowout. We're excited about the halftime show because I believe there was a female singer from the really popular female singer at Super Bowl 48. I'll look it up right now.
No, I don't even. Let's see.
It was Bruno Mars. Yep, Bruno Mars halftime show that year, and yeah, all the girls in our dorm at Rhodes Hall. Because Rhodes Hall, we had like a community room where the Super Bowl was on, not just in our own individual dorms, but we had a community room, and we had the Super Bowl on in the community room at Slippery Rock. And yeah, all the girls were excited about Bruno Mars, and all the guys were excited about the Seahawks blowing out the Broncos. Fun times, except for William, who was heartbroken that year because Richard Sherman beat his 49ers in the NFC title game.
Yeah.
But it was a great Super Bowl.
The tragedies.
Outside of the blowout, it was a very. I enjoyed that Super Bowl more than Eagles Chiefs because with Eagles Chiefs, I felt sorry for the Eagles when they lost Super Bowl 39 to the Patriots, but when they beat the Patriots and then they beat Mahomes, my level of empathy for them goes from a 10 to a 1, and then it's just like whatever, screw this.
Definitely
I'm sorry
agreeable.
if that makes me hater fans. I'm sorry if that makes me a hater, but that's just how I feel about a team. It's like the Cubs. I never really hated the Cubs, and then they beat Cleveland in the 2016 World Series. And I was like, this is bullshit. but they earned the right to break the curse. And it's like, if Cleveland won that, people would still be talking about the Cubs breaking the curse. And that narrative just wouldn't go away because they're a darling in the eyes of the media. So I'm still sticking with my Mariners Dodgers World Series pick. Joey, you did not make a World pick back in March. Are you going to make one today? Because I feel like you're going to make one next week, but it's contingent on the Guardians getting out of the wild card round. I feel like that's where you're at. Are you going to make a World Series pick today or next week, or is it contingent? Because I'm going to be doing a show Monday where I break down all the matchups and everything before the games start on Tuesday. We will have Under the Bleachers on Wednesday if William, because I'm probably going to get a text from William after I do the Monday show breaking down the MLB playoff games on what the status for Wednesday's like, because usually when we do a show, I get an update by Monday. Like, I get an update on where we're at. I didn't get that last week, so all right.
Yeah.
And I just hope everything's
I
going to
apologize for that.
No worries.
For sure.
But I'm going to get to the MLS standings, and I'm going to go through the top 15 players, and then I'm going to get to the actual NFL Week 4 predictions. We're getting to them, okay? We got 15 games. We're going to get to them, I promise. Basically, the Chicago Fire with 45 points occupy the last playoff spot with 4 games left in the regular season. The Union have number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference, but their goalie Andre Blake is injured. They signed George Marks, a 3rd-round pick from Charlotte FC. Dave Tepper, and Marks outplayed Marks met team expectations, but Dave Tepper just decided to cut him. Kind of a dick move. Good 3rd-round pick. And Cincinnati is number 2. Inter Miami has moved all the way up to 3. Joey had FC Cincinnati winning the MLS Cup. I had Inter Miami winning the MLS Cup. So Philadelphia is still the 1 seed, but they're winning games in spite of their star goalie Andre Blake being injured. Dave Tepper and Charlotte are the 4 seeds. So yeah, if the season ended today, Dave Tepper would get a home playoff game. New York City FC is the 5 seed. They would play Charlotte. Orlando City, even though Duncan McGuire had 2 labrum surgeries on his shoulder, his left and right shoulder, 6 months apart, Orlando City is winning games without him. They're the 6th seed. Oh, and Orlando City also traded for the LA Galaxy's number 1 pick and the Houston Dynamo's number 1 pick. So Orlando's going to make the playoffs, and they're going to have 2 of the top 10 picks in the draft, including the number 1 pick. Has a playoff team ever had 2 top 10 picks in 1 draft year, including the number 1 pick? I don't think that's ever happened, William or Joey, to see a team make the playoffs and they got 2 top 10 picks, including the number 1 pick. I don't think that's ever happened. I think that's a first in any of the 5 pro sports. I think that's a first. So
yeah,
Nashville's got the 7 seed, and the MLS does a play-in game like the NBA, and the play-in game is the Chicago Fire versus the Columbus Crew. And look, Columbus is a very dangerous 8 seed. If they beat Chicago, I think they're going to beat Philadelphia unless Andre Blake comes back. Because is Andre Blake out for the season? Like, what's the status on the injury? Is he coming back? Is he out for the season? That's what I'd like to know. Before it returned, Andre Blake had a hamstring injury. He missed games in August, early September. He returned to team training. In September, but he has been ruled out of the World Cup qualifier as well. So I'm guessing he's going to be back for the playoffs. It sounds like he's going to be back for the playoffs, but they're easing him back in. So if he's back for the playoffs, that game becomes a lot tougher to win. But, Columbus, they won the MLS Cup 2 years ago. That's a dangerous 8 seed for a top-seeded team like Philadelphia. So if Philadelphia plays Columbus in the first round, we could be looking at a scenario very similar to 2020, Joey, when the New England Revolution as an 8 seed went into Philadelphia and knocked out the Union under Bruce Arena. We could be looking at a very similar scenario. The Red Bulls currently 2 points back of the Chicago Fire. And with the Fire at 45 points, the Red Bulls at 43, The New England Revolution are at 32 points. They only have 3 games left. So even if they won out, they would be behind the Red Bulls and the Fire. So basically, the final wild card is going to come down to the Red Bulls and the Fire. And the Columbus Crew have 50 points in 31 games. So the Crew are pretty much in the playoffs. Jimmy Haslam's going to host either Chicago or the Red Bulls. I kind of hope it's Chicago because Chicago Fire have not won a playoff game since 2008. They have a longer playoff drought than the Bears. That is just bad. Like, the Bears have not won a playoff game since 2011. The Fire have not won a playoff game since 2008. So basically, the Jets, the Fire, and the Bears have the 3 longest playoff droughts, William. So, I mean, Chicago, if they get in, they've got to wipe that shit-eating grin off of Jimmy Haslam's face, and it's not going to be easy with Patrick Schultz at goalie. Let's get to the West. Let's get the West out of the way. No MLS mock draft. Sorry, guys. We got NFL stuff we got to get to. San Diego is the top seed as an expansion team, 57 points. Vancouver, 56. Minnesota, 54. LAFC, 50. Seattle Sounders are at 45. Austin FC is at 44. Portland's at 43. The Colorado Rapids, 11 wins, 14 losses, and 6 ties. At 39 points in 31 games. That gets them the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and then the FC Dallas, owned by Clark Hunt, the Chiefs owner, 9 wins, 11 losses, and 10 ties, 37 points. FC Dallas does currently own the final playoff spot, but Houston Dynamo, 9 wins, 13 losses, 9 ties, is only a point behind. San Jose Earthquakes, 9 wins, 14 losses, 8 ties, is only 2 points behind FC Dallas. So, and because Colorado's at 39 points, I mean, I don't know if there's a team mathematically eliminated. The LA Galaxy, if they won out, they would be at 33 points. They are mathematically eliminated. If not 27-9 is 36. Sporting Kansas City is eliminated. I believe St. Louis is eliminated too. 28 plus 9 is 37. Nope. Well, 30. Yeah, because FC Dallas would just need a. FC Dallas, I think, won the head-to-head series against St. Louis, and their plus-minus ratio is 9 goals fewer. So I'm pretty certain St. Louis is eliminated as well. So, but still, Real Salt Lake, San Jose, Houston, FC Dallas, all of them have a shot at that final wild card. I've been telling Joey for a while the Eastern Conference is the stacked conference in MLS, whereas the Western Conference, it doesn't feel like there's a complete team on paper. So, but I think right now having San Diego get to the MLS Cup as an expansion team is a great story for soccer. And I'm thinking maybe we'll see what happens because we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen in the West. I think the West is a crapshoot this year. But Messi leads the MLS with 24 goals. Top 15 MLS draft prospects in college soccer. I'm going Ransford Yin here at number 1. 8 goals, 6 assists, 22 points for the Clemson midfielder. He had 5 goals, 6 assists as a freshman, 8 goals, 6 assists this year. And he was a 2-time Gatorade High School Player of the Year, National Player of the Year, not best player in the state of New Jersey, the National Player of the Year 2 years in a row. He's been called Ghana's version of Lionel Messi. I think he's going to go number 1. I mean, Devin Kerr of ESPN has called him the best player in college soccer for 2 games in a row now. This guy is getting about as much hype as Caleb Williams got. Unlike Caleb Williams, though, there's not those lapses that Caleb Williams had in his draft year. There are 0 lapses from Yen's end. He's going to go number 1. Nicholas Simmons is going to go number 2. And what makes Nicholas Simmons so intriguing, Joey, is his dad played professional soccer in the USL, MLS, and the Jamaica team on the FIFA World Cup. His sister also played on the Jamaica team in the Women's World Cup. So Nicholas Simmons might be the Lenora Sellers of the MLS draft. I know it's not the best pun, but they both have family. Both Sellers and Nicholas Simmons have family ties. And Nicholas Simmons had 2 goals in a 6-3 win over Wake Forest. Simmons was not on my radar initially, but Victor over at Top Drawer Soccer was kind enough to tell me about Nicholas Simmons. And I looked into the tape. He's basically Jamaica's version of Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry, one of the best soccer players in the world. He was on Arsenal when David Beckham was on Manchester United. So those top two picks are going to be stars. Junior Diouf from Grand Canyon, 6 goals, 2 assists, 14 points. He currently is number 3. He's only a true freshman at Grand Canyon. And before you guys laugh and say Diouf has no chance at going number 1, the last 2 number 1 picks in the MLS draft were small school guys. Tyrese Spicer from Lipscomb and Manu Dua from UC Santa Barbara. So if that trend continues, Grand Canyon will have the number 1 pick. Don't laugh at the possibility of Grand Canyon having the number 1 pick, because it's like, the last 2 years, a small school player's gone number 1 in the MLS draft. And right when I'm about to catch up with the mainstream media with the ACC narrative, guess what? MLS scouts pivot to the smaller school guys. So Diouf's in that conversation. Number 4 in my big board is Mitch Budler out of Akron. What makes the 6'4", 198-pound Mitch Budler special? 6 consecutive shutouts to start the year. Andre Blake went number 1 in 2014. He didn't even have 6 shutouts for Connecticut to start the year. And Budler's 4 of his 6 shutouts came against tournament teams. He shut out Virginia Commonwealth. He shut out Ohio State. He shut out Western Michigan. And he shut out shit, I forgot the 4th team he shut out, but he shut out Georgetown, I think. So Georgetown, Ohio State, Western Michigan. No, he didn't shut out Georgetown. He shut out West Virginia. West Virginia made the Final Four in 2023, and Ohio State made the Final Four last year, was the number 1 team in college soccer. So you're the goalie on Akron. You go into Ohio State, you shut out their soccer team. You have 12 saves. You have 6 shutouts in the row to start the year. All of a sudden, you're on my radar. And Top Drawer had Budler at like 27 or 43. They had him in the 27 to 43 range. So I had to do some digging to find intel on Butler last week at the USHL Fall Prospects game, So, yeah, he's number 4 for me. Maximilian Kissel, Vermont striker, 4 goals, 3 assists, is 5th. Nicholas Herseg, the goalie that led Vermont to a championship. He's 12-1-3 as a freshman, redshirt, 5-0-3 this year. Has only lost 1 game in the last 2 years. Maybe not a lot of shutouts, but only 1 loss in the last 2 years. That's pretty impressive for a college soccer player. At number 7, I've got Notre Dame center back Mitch Ferguson. He went into Pitt, led Notre Dame to a shutout over Pitt. Notre Dame has 4 shutouts on the year. This is a weak center back draft. That's why MLS teams loaded up on center backs last year, even though they left a lot of talent at striker and midfielder off the board. Mitch Ferguson's pretty good. 4 shutouts, senior at Notre Dame, probably the top center back. Aiden Martin out of Cornell, 1 goal, 1 assist, 4 shutouts for Aiden Martin. And he was the Ivy League freshman of the year last year when Alex Harris was there. Nate Richmond for Clemson has 7 goals, 1 assist, 15 points. I have Nate Richmond, the Clemson senior, at 9 on the board. Number 10, Virginia Commonwealth, Muse Nadia. This guy's from Nigeria. He's from Muse, not Muse Nidye. This guy's a soccer player. He played in the Belgian Pro League in the offseason, but he's also the Virginia Commonwealth, and he's from Senegal. He's from Senegal in Africa, and he also played in the Belgian German League as a professional soccer player in the spring. He held Ransford Yen scoreless, handed Clemson their only loss on the year. So Muse Nyi, Virginia Commonwealth, a sleeper in my top 10, and then Teg Heagley from North Carolina State, 5 shutouts. Travis Smith Jr. out of Wake Forest, 4 shutouts. I like Travis Smith Jr., but he looked lost and out of position against Clemson. Devin Kerr, the ESPN announcer, basically had his foot up his rear end the entire game when calling the game, when pointing out how he was out of position. Jeremy Abanel, St. Louis Billikens goalie, 5 shutouts. He's 25 years old, had a shutout against Duquesne last Saturday in Pittsburgh, a guy who's on my radar now. Number 14 is Tate Lampman. The Georgetown Georgetown freshman had 12 shutouts last year, but he grew from 6'2" to 6'7". Only one shutout this year versus Pittsburgh. And then wrapping up my list is Jackson Gilman from Pittsburgh. He plays left back and center back on defense, and he's a 3-year captain. He started as a freshman when Valentin Noel was a senior. I know we interviewed Noel, had him on the podcast, was MLS Next Cup MVP as a rookie. But Jackson Gilman has been a 4-year starter in Pittsburgh and a 3-year captain. And I pointed out, I yelled that Michigan State beat number 5 Michigan last night when I was at the Pitt soccer game, William. And when he heard that, and he basically said, let's go, shut that fucker with the hair up. And he was all fired up, and Pitt started playing really good defense in the second half against North Carolina State after allowing Donovan Phillip 3 shots on goal in the first 3 minutes, including a goal. Pitt tied the number 1 team in the country, but they didn't beat them. And Pitt's a team that had 10 returning starters, was number 2 in the country last year, and they are already at 4 losses. The fact that they tied the number 1 team in the country is an accomplishment in its own right, but you would have liked to see them win so you could have gotten more prospects. But that's a top 15. I'm not going to go further in depth yet because, A, there's a midseason, a final regular season ranking for these top 100 players on Top Drawer Soccer. And out of the preseason top 15, these are the only guys in that top 100 that impressed me. And I usually rave about these soccer guys to no end, to where Joey wants me to drop it or shut up or maybe stop overhyping some of these guys to a degree. If I only have 15 first-round grades and there's 30 players that are eligible to be picked in the first round, that tells me that the teams that make the playoffs are going to have a lot of homework to do, William, whereas the teams that miss the playoffs, they're going to have an easier time finding talent. So,
Indeed.
I would rank the MLS draft as the 3rd strongest draft behind the NHL and NFL drafts. But NHL and NFL are going to be number 1 and 2 for the foreseeable future. You can debate which sport has the better talent, but I just think NBA draft's kind of weaker this year, and so is the MLB. WNBA could be good, but I'm not going to touch that right now. We got to get to our NFL predictions. I have kept our audience waiting too damn long, but I wanted to get some stuff. I wanted to get some other segments out of the way. Next week we'll have fullbacks. We'll have our first edition of mid-season report cards. We'll go through contracts and the draft simulator. And the 4 teams available are the Falcons, Bears, Packers, and Steelers. And I've decided we will all group pick for the Falcons because the Falcons don't have a first-round pick. So we will collaborate on the Falcons, and then we'll each pick from the Packers, Bears, and Steelers. That's kind of what I've decided for if we can't get a guess. I think that's fair.
Yes, sir.
So let's get into these week 4 games. I do have the device stopped. Oh, great. Now these assholes on YouTube are going to say, oh, your audio's not working. Your audio's not working. It's working on TalkShoe. I don't know why it's not working on YouTube, but I'll pull up the predictions. I'll pull up what we have on the site. Only 2 people picked the Cardinals, Joey and Daniel. And in Joey's defense, I initially had the Cardinals until the end of this, but then I looked at the injury report. Will Johnson's out again. Garrett Williams is on IR. The Cardinals don't have enough depth at corner to beat Seattle. And I think the other issue with the Cardinals is right now, Tony Mario hit the nail on the head last week in his power rankings. He said, right now, the only alpha male on Arizona's offense is Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison's dropping too many balls. Kyler Murray's not consistent enough with left tackle Paris Johnson Jr. out. And Tony Mario joked that Kyler Murray, he is carrying Gucci purses into the Arizona Cardinals locker room against San Francisco like he's Leslie Chow from The Hangover. I mean, there were some stand-up comedians that thought that was funny as hell. So, yeah. So, I'm not sure what's worse, playing Call of Duty or getting compared to Leslie Chow from The Hangover.
Oh, dude, talking about Call of Duty, man, I got freaking hacked.
I think the Leslie Chow jokes are more original. They're newer. They're funnier with the Gucci purses. It's like, I don't want to talk about Call of Duty because it's become like a stereotype. Like, Kyler Murray Call of Duty jokes. It's become so stale. It's become a stereotype.
So for my one F-bomb of the week, when it comes to, I heard Call of Duty, and I play Call of Duty Mobile. Well, I got like hacked this last weekend, and I am just absolutely pissed. So fuck Call of
Did
Duty.
you get hacked by Kyler Murray because he lost to your
Kyler
49ers?
Murray,
I'm just curious.
Okay, enough with the F-bombs. I'm not sure what happened, dude, but I am upset.
I had to ask that because Joey might have asked that if I didn't ask that. So
now I'm having to talk to like freaking support through like, you know, a message every other day, because that's as quick as they work over there in China or Japan or wherever they are. And it's just, yeah, dude, no. Right.
yeah, as far as the pick'em standings go, Wes is in the lead, Kerm is in second, Tony Mario's in third, Oren's in fourth, I'm in fifth, and then Daniel. I think William, you moved ahead of Daniel. Daniel and William were both 29 and 19. Daniel had the Seahawks, so he's 30 and 19. So Williams moved into sixth, and then I think
I mentioned having to do something. I knew I had to do something, and
I think Tracy's in tied with Daniel for seventh, and with the Cardinals losing, Joey is now officially 28 and 21. Not going to say anything else. That was a very bland game. It was a very entertaining fourth quarter, but that Thursday night game was a very bland game. The Kyler Murray Ewok, I'm going to call them Ewok jerseys. Some people are calling them desert jerseys. Some people are calling them Dairy Queen jerseys. I'm going to call those Cardinals Thursday night jerseys Ewok jerseys, because whenever I see the Cardinals wear that shit, I think of the Ewoks from Star Wars. So I'm going to call them the Ewok jerseys. 28 and 21. Last on Draft Utopia, not last in the league. You're ahead of ESPN's Dan Graziano. You're ahead of Dan Graziano, Joey. Dan Graziano is in last. Out of 50 people, I think you're tied for 30.
Just know that you're number one in our hearts, Joey.
You're ahead. I think Joey's just happy he's ahead of Dan Graziano.
Well, I'm sure there's a few others, you know, like.
Yeah, I'll check the actual standings once we get past Minnesota-Pittsburgh. Minnesota's favored in this game. Everyone's taking the Steelers except for our two leaders, Kerm and West, and the Vikings are the favorite to win this game. Ryan Kelly will be back. McCarthy will not be back. Neither will McCarthy's going to be back. Rangers Guardians is on Fox tonight along with Reds Brewers, so Fox providing their baseball update. But Steelers Vikings, I got the Steelers winning this game. I know the Vikings went off against the Bengals last week. I think the Steelers have a much better defense, and I do not see Carson Wentz having two dominant games in a row. I know Carson Wentz grew up a Vikings fan, but if Carson Wentz plays out of his mind, he's just doing this to fool a team into giving him an eighth chance as a starting quarterback. Carson Wentz at this point is like a cat with 9 lives.
Maybe foreshadowing, but I got the Vikings losing the next 2 games. Okay.
I do. I've got the Vikings losing the next game. I think they might beat the Browns. It just depends. Depends.
Well, Carson Wentz, I got him like throwing 3 interceptions against the Browns. I mean, Carson Wentz is not it.
Carson Wentz. The Vikings' offensive line is fully healthy for the first time all season. Let's see what they do against the Steelers before we pass judgment on him.
That's the current thought process. That the Steelers are going to whoop their ass. Then the Browns are going to whoop their ass. All because
I think the Vikings have a chance. If the game was in Cleveland, I'd agree with you, but it's in London, and the Vikings have to go from Ireland to London. The Browns have to go from America to London. That's less travel for the Vikings. That sort of works in their favor.
I will rethink a little bit.
Also, the Vikings are 4-0 in London. That's why the Vikings are favored. The Vikings are 4-0 in their last 4 games Oh, the last 4 international games, the Vikings are 4-0. That's why they're favored.
I will give you this. If Carson Wentz has a decent game against you, he doesn't have to have a good game. He has a decent game against Steelers, I will rethink that. Just a decent game.
I think the reason the Vikings are doing well is because Darisaw came back at left tackle. Jordan Mason had 100 yards. Darisaw had 0 pressures allowed, 0 sacks allowed, and was basically a stonewall. You know that stonewall ability in All Pro Football 2K8? Darisaw was a stonewall for a backup quarterback, and he was a beast run blocking for a backup running back. I think we're getting closer and closer to having a conversation about how Darisaw, not Silverback Williams, is the best left tackle in the league. I still think it's Williams for this year, but I think we are getting closer and closer to having that conversation about how Darisaw might be the
Fair
league's
enough.
best left tackle.
If Wentz has a halfway decent game, I will rethink that.
Addison's coming back from his suspension too.
Very good defense. So if he has a very good game there, am I fair to say I'll rethink that?
Yes. But the Vikings are favored over the Steelers, and Wes and Kerm, the 2 leaders, both took the Vikings. Everyone else took the Steelers. So if the Steelers win, we all game a game on the top 2. And if they lose, we all lose a game on the top 2, meaning it's basically a 2-man race between Wes and Kerm for first place. So,
I just don't have any faith in Carson.
and that's fair. Do you have any faith? You have any faith in 3rd-string quarterback Max Brosner, the former Minnesota Golden Gophers quarterback? He went undrafted, made the Vikings final roster as a 3rd-string quarterback. So if Wentz gets injured or benched, you have to throw Max Brosmer into the fire and see what you got. Could be a Tyson Badgett situation waiting to develop, William.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking you were talking about freaking Bill Cosby.
No, Max Brosmer. He was the Minnesota Golden Gophers quarterback last year. He went undrafted, and the Vikings signed him. He made their final roster as a 3rd-string quarterback, Max Brosmer. So he's the backup to Carson Wentz if Wentz gets injured.
And quite depressing, considering that I'm depressed that Carson Wentz is still a starting quarterback.
So if Wentz gets injured and Max Brosmer starts, you're going to go from being depressed to being depressed and possibly drinking if the Browns don't win and they lose to Max Brosmer.
Well, we're not going to go there because I'm already because I'm a Browns fan.
All right, we won't go there, but like, it's just like, I'm just trying to think of the best way to describe this. I'm not doing a very good job, I know, but I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this.
Johnny Manziel. You say Johnny Manziel. It's not as entertaining as Johnny Manziel and failures, but at the same time, it's still failures about Spain.
Yeah, and to be fair, I took the Steelers because they're getting a lot of guys back in the secondary. Deshaun Elliott, Joey Porter Jr., and Darius Slay all expected to be back. Basically, outside of Alex Highsmith, everyone on the Steelers defense is going to be at full health. Steelers had everyone in their secondary at full health in week 1. They didn't have anyone on the defensive line at full health outside of Hayward, and that led to sloppy play for the first 2 weeks. Then Highsmith gets injured in week 2 against Seattle, and then now the secondary is going to be healthy again. So, but Highsmith's out. And the Vikings have 2 of the best offensive tackles. Not only do they got Darisaw at left tackle, they got Brian O'Neill, a team captain since 2020 at right tackle, 2018 3rd-round pick. Darisaw's not even a captain, and O'Neill is, and O'Neill and Darisaw complement each other perfectly, Joey. So that's why when those 2 are healthy. Well, Highsmith's injured at the moment with like an ankle sprain or a tweaked. But Watt's in the lineup. Nick Herbig is starting. You know who the 3rd edge rusher is? Jack Sawyer, their 4th-round pick. He's a situational edge rusher. That's a role Herbig usually plays, but with Highsmith injured, Herbig starts next to Watt. Jack Sawyer becomes a situational edge. Could we see Jack Sawyer's first sack this week? because I think you're at the point, if you're Coach Tomlin, where you should probably play Herbig on first and second down and whip out Sawyer as a situational edge if you can. Give him a little bit of reps. I don't expect him to win those reps, but give him a little bit of experience because you're not going to be able to give him that once Highsmith comes back. So, and I know all three of us like Jack Sawyer coming out of Ohio State last year.
Yeah, very much.
So
Kid can play, man.
this is a game where you might want to sprinkle him in, pepper him in on a few third down situations, but leave Herbig and Watson as the starters.
The Vikings are up against that are not getting them before.
The Steelers have the better coaching and the better team on paper than the Vikings. I don't know why Vegas increased the Vikings point spread from -1 to -2.5 for the Vikings. Is it because the Vikings are undefeated outside the United States, 4-0 in their last 4? I don't understand the thought process, Joey. I don't.
I don't know. Maybe for me, the entire thought process is you got two of the NFL, in my opinion, the NFL's top defenses coming up for that. And then you've got one of the NFL's biggest disappointments over the last is their quarterback. It is a logical thought process. I mean,
Carson Wentz grew up a Minnesota Vikings fan, so maybe Carson Wentz plays out of his mind just so the Vikings secure him to a contract, or just so another team signs him to a contract, like a big contract as a starter. But that seems like it's more likely to happen with Daniel Jones. But I think Jones or Wentz, one of them, if we see a backup become a starter somewhere else, it's going to be one of those two.
it is possible. Is that just for the next couple of weeks, I'm just like, these defenses are red hot. And
I put more stock into depth charts than momentum. The Browns defense is on a hot streak. We'll get to that when we get to that game, though.
it's just talking about the Vikings, though. It's like, can you trust them against a top-notch defense? I say no.
I think these teams are a lot more evenly matched than the public thinks. But the problem is, Ireland is closer to Pittsburgh than it is to Minnesota, and the Vikings have to lose an international game at some point. And I just think the Steelers are a better team on paper, better coaching. They have a defensive-minded guy who can counter what Kevin O'Connell does, and Tomlin, who's been there for years.
You're going 10,000 miles versus 9,000 miles.
It's
Time thought process in the mind of anybody. I mean, dude, come on, man.
Pittsburgh to Ireland is 3,436 miles, not 10 to 9,000 miles. Minnesota to Ireland is 3,723 miles. So Pittsburgh is 300 fewer miles than Ireland, and neither team. I'm just trying to. Where did you get 10,000? Like, where did you get that number?
And I will walk 500.
I mean, that is, I'm not gonna, roast you too much for that because it's a big number the way.
Yeah.
Talk about 300 miles out of 3,400.
Yeah, but the Steelers have the 300-mile advantage, and I think their team is a better team on paper than the Vikings. And the coaching, I think, favors Pittsburgh in this game too.
But Mike Tomlin hasn't done really much in a while, dude. Like,
but he just does enough to make the playoffs. Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016, 2017 when they beat Alex Smith 18-16 in the divisional round to get to the AFC title game and lose to the Patriots.
Maybe Mike Tomlin was a mathematician and a former lawyer, and he has it calculated down to what he can do with his guy on a 300-mile differential that nobody's talking about. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, likely. I mean,
All right, Commanders, Falcons.
here's one that I will say is legitimate. I'm almost serious. In Ireland, but I did a study on this when I was in college. Ireland has the cleanest on the planet. Okay, so in this sense, the toxins that are in Ireland are taken out to sea because they are an island with one small bridge going into the European Union. So in a place like Pittsburgh, the highly industrial line, the Steelers may have an advantage there because they are used to playing in a more toxic environment, and then they're going into an incredibly clean, oxygenated environment. So that is a very real possibility.
Yep.
Where this team has an advantage.
Donovan Jackson hasn't given up a sack or pressure. Ryan Kelly is back from an injury, so the Vikings' offensive line, this will be the first game where their offensive line's at full health, and they've got Will Fries at right guard. So I think the Vikings' offensive line and the Lions' offensive lines are both going to be equally problematic for the Browns' defense, but we'll get to that. I'm not dismissing anything. It's just I want to get through the rest of these games.
The thought process is like, you just gave a scientific answer and a philosophical debate.
Okay. All right, Commanders, Falcons. I initially did have Atlanta winning this game, but out AJ Terrell, they can't cover any receivers. And Mariota, this is kind of a revenge game for him, and I just don't know where the Falcons stand with their quarterbacks. With Penix getting benched for Cousins, I don't know if there's friction in that room, if there's a divide. It's very hard to read the room in that respect. So Washington is our first lock for this week.
The Falcons are doing in that respect. I'm kind of with you there because there is no reason, in my opinion, to then commit in that situation. You know, everybody has a bad game. Not everybody's perfect, but that doesn't say, hey, he was responsible for a full 30 to nothing to last. I mean, so
AJ Terrell's out, and their number 2 corner is Mike Hughes, who is okay nickel corner, but he's been very suspect on the outside, even though he's a great corner in college. He's very suspect on the outside. Now he's going to be your number 1 corner. Now you're going to have your nickel corner, who is a rookie, former safety converting to corner, moving over to the outside, and you have D. Alford nickel, and you have everybody playing out of position. And it's a domino effect due to AJ Terrell being injured. So
that is a real threat. That is a real problematic issue. The thought process is, for me, Kirk Cousins is going to be.
Penix is still starting, but it's like there might be some friction, divide, tension among the team. I don't think we're at the point where the Falcons have a divided locker, but there might be some tension among the team. They fired their wide receivers coach, Ike Hilliard. Ike Hilliard did get fired. Oh, and their offensive coordinator is no longer going to be in the booth. He's on the field. So when the coordinator gets moved from the booth to the field, that is a telltale sign that if he doesn't turn things around soon, he's gone. That's basically a warning to the coordinator. Not always the case, but sometimes is the case.
You know, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. What I want to know is if the offensive coordinator is more helpful on the field and the head coach has come in the field. Because we have seen instances where the head coach wants them in the booth, but once they get them on the field, it's like, oh, they were right. They're better on the field.
outside of Drake London and Darnell Mooney, they do not have any receivers. Ray McLeod, I think he's a backup. I know some people like him as a starter. I think he's a backup, and they also have Parker. I think they have Jamal Agnew as their number 4 receiver, but he's injured, and their other backups are injured as well. I don't think Ike Hillier should have been fired, but they wanted to make an example out of somebody for losing 30-0, and Ike Hillier was the guy that was made an example out of. That's all there is to it.
The Falcons are an interesting story right now because they had so much promise coming into this game or coming into this season, and right now they are really messing it up. But at the same time, they still have a lot of talent. So how are they going to handle it? So they are an interesting study of it.
Former defensive coordinator from the Bills, Jerry Gray, is the assistant head coach. So if Raheem Morris gets fired, Jerry Gray finally gets his opportunity as an interim head coach. So
Jerry Gray is somebody I have loved for years. How he hasn't found an opportunity so far, I will never know.
And Raheem Morris is not a great coach. I'm almost kind of hoping he get, not because I want to see Raheem Morris shown the door, more so because I want to see what Gray could do with an opportunity to lead a team like this. So that's. Oh, and the Falcons have a new special teams assistant head coach. His name's Stephen King, like the author. That's the name of their assistant special teams coach. It's pretty crazy.
Sorry about that. My 1-year bud died, so I had to switch to the other. I was going to say, Ray deserves an opportunity. He's deserved an opportunity for years. He hasn't gotten it. It'll be fun to see him actually get his opportunity.
That'll only happen if Raheem Morris gets fired. I don't know if Morris will get fired, but I know a lot of Falcons fans have complained about Raheem Morris.
Well, I just want to see him get an opportunity. I don't care where it is.
He'll get an opportunity if Morris gets fired. I don't think he'll get an opportunity anywhere else, though, because right now he's assistant head coach. That basically means if something happens to Morris, he's the guy. That's basically what that means. That title is not.
And that's a shame because Ray is such a great coach and a great client.
I agree 100%. I've loved Gray for years. Gray was on my radar as early as 2006, so I feel like he's 20 years overdue, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I've looked up for years too. It's like give him a stop. No, he's been one of the best and most consistent coaches in the NFL for 20 years. What more does this man have to do?
Yeah. So I'm going to take the Commanders to win, but I initially had the Falcons. I think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game. I'm going 21-17. I don't have a lot of confidence in Mariota. Everybody took the Commanders. And this next game's a lock, too. Saints-Bills. This next game is a lock. Everybody's taking the Bills. They're playing the Saints at home. Oren joked that the Bills would win 56-0. Oren joked that the Bills would win 56-0. I've got the Bills winning 35-17, but it's going to be ugly for Saints fans. It is.
Would you agree that, it is a very real possibility that Warren is correct?
What was that?
I'm.
Oh, it
If
could be
Tyler's
right.
show was starting, I think 56-0 would be the score I'd go with.
Yeah.
But he's not. Spencer Rattler's starting, so I went with something a little bit more realistic, 35-17. But this is going to be a pretty ugly game.
Yeah, very much.
Spreads at 15.5 for Buffalo.
I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah, Rattler is the only reason I don't have I'm getting a shutout. The Browns play the Lions. I am taking. Most of our staff is taking the Lions. I think there's one. I think everybody on NFL Network took the Lions. I think that means Joey's the only person in the country who has the Browns winning. And to be fair, William and I both liked the Browns last week because we were both looking at the point spread. I saw that 80% of the public was betting on the Packers. And when 80% of the public is betting on one team, and the NFL sports books in Las Vegas have had 2 losing weeks in a row, the team that has 20% of the betting action usually wins. That's how these companies recuperate their assets, reaccumulate their assets. So that's why I figured the Browns were going to cover. William did pick the Browns to win last week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my rationale is very simple. I've been following the Lions. I look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a decent game, a disastrous game in week 2.
What are you talking about? The Lions kicked the Bears' ass 52-14. He didn't. You're getting the weeks mixed up. The game where Goff and the Lions played like crap was the 27-13 loss to the Packers. That was week 1. The last 2 weeks they played a lot better.
Okay, so I'm getting the weeks mixed up. But the thing is, like, Goff has played well against the hard defenses. But he was a disaster against a Packers defense that's one of the best in the league. Now you're going up against another defense that's one of the best in the league. And now you're looking at a different scenario. And then you have the added situation of the Lions are talking shit. Okay.
I think the Browns have a top 10 defense, and you could argue they have a top 5 defense. I don't think they have the league's best defense, but I definitely think you can make an argument. They're second in points allowed, they're second in pass defense, and they're 6th in run defense. So do I think they have a complete 11 quality starters on defense this year? No, I do not. But Malik Collins played a lot better than I thought he could last week. Malik Collins played a lot better than I thought he could. Carson Schwessinger's providing hope, even though I think he's a scrub compared to Koromoa, but Koromoa is injured, so yeah.
The thing is, you're looking at Goff and saying, you play against one of the top defenses in the NFL. You had great games against 2 mid of the road teams in the NFL.
I don't know.
Not up against one of the best defenses in the NFL again. So now
I wouldn't call the Ravens a middle-of-the-road defense because they did hold the Browns to 14 points. They sucked against Buffalo and Detroit.
that is not a high bar, Chris. I am sorry. Holding the Browns to 14 points is not a high bar.
But they beat the Ravens. The Lions beat a team that beat the pants off of the Browns. That's my point. That's what I'm getting at.
The Ravens defense was inconsistent. They've been inconsistent all year. They have great.
That's true. But they held the Browns to 14 points. The Browns have been one of the worst offenses in the league, but they've been one of the best defenses in the league too.
Yeah, once again, Chris, that is not a high bar. You're talking about probably the lowest bar you can probably have in the NFL. I mean, that is not. I'm not even sure that's a compliment. Saying we held the Browns to 14 points. We were averaging 13 points a game in the last 6 months. I mean, that's not exactly a compliment. Okay. So, I'm not going to take away from the team because Raiders is still a great team.
Do the Browns have a complete defense on paper? Just looking at their depth chart. I love their defensive line. Carson Schwessinger's been a surprise, but I still like Jerome Baker more than him. I don't know why. Devin Bush. And
you got to take advantage of that slot.
Miles Harden's the weak link. I'm looking at the Browns. Harden is starting at nickel corner over Cameron Mitchell, and that is the weakness in this defense. I think we both agree that's the weakness. The Browns defense is good, fueled the fire a little bit to where Myles Garrett said he's entitled to his opinion. It is what it is.
Yeah, and then Mason Graham came out as like, these Browns players over my offensive coordinator because these guys are pretty good. You know,
I don't think they're a complete team on paper, and honestly, how bad the Browns' offense is, I think you need a complete defense on paper, 11 quality starters to beat a team like a Detroit.
But at the same time, Dan Campbell's a straight shooter.
Yeah, he is.
Campbell says these guys are a threat to us, which is basically what he's done. You've got to take that into consideration because Dan Campbell ain't going to. He's not going to.
But the left side of the Lions' offensive line has been fantastic the last two games. Taylor Decker and Christian Mahogany, 0 pressures the last 2 weeks against Chicago and Baltimore.
That front four of the Browns against that top 5 of the Lions, that's going to be fun. You know, and that's going to be fun to watch.
And I think the Vikings have a good front 5 too. So it's like, I'm telling you, the Browns could win one of these next 2 games. They could win both of them. I think they're going to lose both of them because the Vikings and Lions both have the bodies in the trenches to beat the Browns. But we'll see who's right.
It's going to be fun because right now, not because the Browns are this all-American, you know, star-spangled team, but because the matchup is very intriguing, and they are going to be highly fun to watch. So the key to this situation, and I think the Browns at least win one of these 2 games, and I'm going to pick them to beat the Lions.
I don't think they will beat either team, but hey, more power to you. If you think that if you're confident in your team, great. That makes this all the more entertaining. And if you're right, you gain a game on everybody else. So more power to you.
I'm just looking at the matchup, and I'm saying, hey, Latin America plays a great defense. So we're going to see how this works. If, you know, strong and rebound against another great defense.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a cold since last week. I don't know. Let's get to Let's get to Titans Texans. Tony Mario and Wes disagree on 5 games. So if Tony Mario hits all 5 of his upsets that he disagrees on with Wes, he does gain the lead over Wes. The first upset of Tony Mario's is Titans over Texans. And hey, I think this is the least likely. So basically, Tony needs the following teams to win to jump West. He needs the Texans to win. He needs the Titans to beat the Texans. He needs the Raiders to beat the Bears. He needs the Panthers to beat the Patriots, the Chiefs to beat the Ravens, and the Jaguars to beat the 49ers. I think the Titans is probably the least likely of those 5, but if it happens, who knows? Because I think the others are all obtainable. But the Titans traded Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. ended up beating out Snead for the number 1 cornerback job last year. They traded him on Monday to the Jets for a 6th-round pick. They have just made the Jets GM and Woody Johnson look like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And yes, The fact that I'm comparing Woody Johnson to those two geniuses is not okay. That should tell you how bad the state of the Titans is right now. That they have made the Jets look like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. You drafted a corner in the 5th round. He actually became a number 1 corner, and you traded him to the Jets for a 6th round pick. You got less return on your investment. And I don't understand it at all. You got a corner and a rookie deal for 3 more years. If you trade him for a 3rd or 2nd round pick, fine. I wouldn't have been happy about it, but I would have at least gotten behind the thought process. This, I don't understand. And I can't explain logically why this is smart for your team.
It's not. And because I've been thinking a lot about the Jags Browns trade on draft day. And I can honestly say, no matter what I think about that trade, this trade is horrible. You know, it's like, at least it could make sense at the moment. You know, this trade got him. You know, you're basically.
The Titans GM just made the Jets GM and Woody Johnson look like Munger and Buffett. And if you think that is too harsh of a comparison, the Jets GM and Woody Johnson are laughing their asses off like Waluigi and Wario. They are laughing their asses off like Waluigi and Wario because they know they just fleeced the Titans.
Oh, yeah, because like, I could actually say that this is, who was the Jags GM last year?
Trent Baalke.
They made Baalke look good. Just I mean, maybe that puts things more in perspective. It's like I've already forgotten Baalke because you said, you know, we can put that in perspective.
Yeah, but Brownlee did get traded, but now Algerius Sneed moves back to number 1 corner, McCreary moves back to boundary, and you don't have a damn nickel corner because the Titans only had 3 corners on their roster, Brownlee, Sneed, and McCreary. They had 0 depth at corner if any of those 3 got injured, and you traded Brownlee for a 6th round pick after he won the number 1 corner job as a rookie. So you don't have a nickel corner.
This brings up the debate. Who has the worst cornerback room, the Browns or the Jets?
The Titans have the worst. Titans have the worst cornerback room. We're not talking about the Jets. The Jets got Brownlee from the Titans.
No, I was thinking about the Titans, the Jets releasing one of their corners. But yeah, the Titans. Yeah, the Browns or the Titans. Who has the worst?
Obviously, the Titans. The Browns still have Denzel Ward. I mean, shit. Emerson's injured, but like, this isn't even a conversation. I mean, remember when the Titans had a really shitty nickel corner in 2020 and Baker Mayfield just freaking carved them? This is worse than that. Their cornerback room is worse than that now.
Oh, God. That is, that's actually, you know, embarrassing.
Impressively embarrassing, I might add.
Impressively embarrassing. William, do you think that's impressively embarrassing?
Like, shit, I think we could put together a better cornerback room than the Titans. This is just brutal.
Yeah. William, what do you think?
Is William still here?
Embarrassing thing you've ever seen?
William's still here. I just don't know if, yeah.
Oh, there we go with my mic off again. I was just saying how awesomely, impressively, yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, no, that's, yeah.
The laughter is just all we need right now. It's like the laughter just puts it all in perspective. It's like, yep. We just go with it. It's embarrassing to the point that William is laughing his ass off.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if
It's
it
gotta
was
be embarrassing, man.
If it was me comparing Woody Johnson to Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, or if it was me comparing the Jets GM and Woody Johnson to Wario and Waluigi. I don't know which of those 3 caused William to laugh his ass off.
No.
But it's just a situation in itself. It's like, what the hell is funny? William, what's causing you to laugh your ass off?
Wait, what? What was causing me?
About what caused William to laugh his ass off during the was it the comments? Was it the trade?
It was the overuse of adjectives when and then just not hearing completely what was said. But there were like 3 adjectives used, and it was actually kind of however you want to say that. Made me laugh, but it wasn't a subject so much. I don't even know what we're talking about right now. I was just trying to get my mic back on. Where are we at?
We're wrapping up Titans Texans. Everybody took the Texans except for Tony Mario. Tony Mario was bold enough to pick the Titans because, frankly, the Texans have had a lot of injuries. There's been chemistry issues in the offensive line. Nick Chubb has struggled for the most part outside of the Monday Night Football Week 2 game, and it's just
yeah, no, I got all that, and this
Stingley's
definitely
injured too. Derek Stingley's injured as well.
Yeah. It's a rivalry game, this is one of those matchups that I always talk about, that when the I don't know, they're just they're just exciting, but I just don't know that there's too much exciting going on with this
I agree.
game.
The next game is the Panthers and the Patriots. My Patriots take on the Panthers. I'm making some hot chocolate knowing that we're not going to fumble another game away like we did last week. That was just embarrassing. I think that was probably my least favorite Patriots game in all my years as a fan. But this is what Joey's had to deal with for years as a Browns fan. I mean, we had 3 goal line fumbles. We had 2 goal line fumbles and an interception at the goal line.
Oh, man, that's rough.
5 turnovers. I was pissed. I was so pissed last week. I was considering putting Mahomes in the cover over Baker, but I did the right thing. I put Baker on the cover this week because I think 2 3-0 teams at this point in the season is pretty rare. And you don't deny your voters. You don't deny your voters even when you're unhappy with an outcome. But it's like, I was pissed. I was about ready to say, I better get a Cleveland World Series or a Dallas Stanley Cup because I was not in a good place mentally. But I don't think the Patriots lose to the Panthers. The Panthers don't have Xavier Legette. McMillan didn't practice on Wednesday. He is going to play, though. Legette is out. Xavier Legette is out, and Christian Gonzalez is back. So Patriots could technically double-team Legette with the nickel corner and with Gonzalez if they wanted to. And that would severely limit what McMillan could do. And with Legette out for the game, Jalen Coker's still on IR. They traded Adam Thielen. Frankly, I don't think there's any. This is probably going to be the first career NFL start for Joe Horn Jr. And this is a good Patriots team. It's a team that he's not going to have a lot of success against because they have Carlton Davis on the outside. He's been phenomenal in relief of Gonzalez. I mean, I like Carolina's offense when they're healthy. The problem is they're not healthy. And even though they just beat an opponent 30-0, I think this is going to be a blowout. I'm going 24-13. Same to go when I picked the Patriots. Everybody took the Patriots. I'm surprised Tony's the only one who took the Panthers because I figured at least one other person would take the Panthers.
I will say this about the Panthers. Horn has played very well. So if he starts this week, it'll be well with him.
Who?
Joey Horn Jr.?
Yeah, Horn Jr. Joe Horn Jr. could start this week because Legette is out. Jalen Coker's out. I'm not exactly sure who else is starting for the Panthers this week because they traded Thielen.
Yeah, he's been the number 4 receiver, and he's made a couple nice plays.
So they're going to – my guess is they're going to keep Hunter Renfrow. They're going to play Hunter Renfrow on the outside, and they're going to move Horn to the slot with Leggett out for this game. That's probably what they'll do. Or they'll play a 2 tight end set because they did play a 2 tight end set versus Atlanta last week where they started Tommy and then they started Jatavian Sanders. And Jatavian Sanders is also injured. So you got to decide. You want to play a 2 tight end set with a 5th round rookie in Mitchell Evans, or do you receiver set with Jimmy Horn Jr.? What personnel do you want to run? That's a very Marcus Jones. I mean, Marcus Jones is the nickel corner. I think he matches up well with Jimmy Horn Jr., but Pam. Or do you want to talk about the next game? The next game is Cam Scativo and Jackson Dart's first NFL start against the Chargers. That's the next game. I'm going to let William decide if we continue talking about my Patriots or if we just go into the next game, because I know you've got a lot to say about both Dart and Scativo.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, moving on, this has got to be something for those Giants fans out there to see Jackson Dart coming out, and Cam Scativo, little bowling ball, yeah.
I'm still here, William. I don't know why the microphone keeps stopping. I don't know. I haven't really been paying it much attention to it on Restream as it should.
The audio's been absolutely, but just bad today. But that's why
it was bad last week too. But at least I could say it was bad because my mic wasn't plugged in. I really don't have any excuses today. I don't know.
Oh well.
Jackson Dart's debut is going to be about as much of a disaster as this animal cookie that I'm dipping in hot chocolate. It's
definitely going to be interesting, and I kind of feel for what's going on here. I mean, I put in a lot of time, studying Jackson Dart the last couple of years, and man. But can you imagine what would happen if they can actually come out and pull the upset over the Chargers?
If the Giants win this game, they'll have momentum heading into their Week 5 matchup against the Saints. They play the Saints in Week 5. So if they can win this game, they're going to be 2-3. I have the Giants going 1-16, but if they win this game, they're going to be 2-3. Because I have the Giants' only win coming against the Vikings in Week 16.
Each team, obviously, they both had their injuries at running back, here and there. Not that it's that big of a thing for the Giants because Tyrone Tracy can't make it past the line of scrimmage when he's healthy, half the time.
Yeah, but, Andrew Thomas is going to be healthy at left tackle, but Malik Neighbors is out. So you're throwing Jackson Dart into the fire in a game where he won't have his best receiver in Malik Neighbors. Honestly, I would start Winston and I would wait to start Dart until Neighbors came back. But the Giants are too short-sighted to do that, knowing that their GM and head coach's jobs are on the line.
Yeah, for sure. We spoke about that before the season, probably at the end of the last season.
I mean, starting Winston with Neighbors out of the lineup, not only do you get the entertainment value from Winston, you get another guy for Dart to learn from. And I know Dart beat out Winston for the backup gig. I still think Winston's ceiling's a little bit higher than Dart's right now. Maybe his floor's higher, and he's got the experience of a veteran.
And Brian Dable's going to be the problem, if they can't win this game. It's not going to be much longer in New York for him, or should I say.
It's going to be Mike
I
Kafka
think.
time soon. Mike Kafka got promoted from offensive coordinator to
No.
assistant head coach. So, yeah, if it's going to be Mike Kafka time pretty soon. Mike Kafka time.
Yeah, and that's I don't know how to say like to. It's gonna be really bad for or it could be really bad for Jackson Dart and some of these young guys.
I'm taking the Giants to cover
you
the
know?
spread this week. That's one of my upsets. I'm picking the Chargers to win, but if you're gambling on this game, put money on the Giants because I think the Giants are going to cover the spread. I think Dart's going to play better than expected. The Giants are going to cover the spread. The Chargers are going to win straight up.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
6.5 is the spread. I think the Chargers only win by like 4.
Yeah, it's going to be a close game anyway. I think because it's going to be a lot to do with the running games I can see between with what is these two teams going up against each other.
Scativo and Dart started. I think the Giants' offense is going to be looser, and they're going to be in a more relaxed mindset, and they're going to be more productive as a result. But they're still going to lose because the Chargers are better.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion, one gotta move is gotta have a 4-year career where he crosses his opponent because he runs with reckless manner. And 2, I would say the same thing I say about the Browns, about the Giants. If they're ready, put them in there. I don't care who the opponent is. You got young rookies. What's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? Have that game? They got a lot more games. They're either going to have the mental fortitude to bounce back, or they're on an NFL quarterback. Okay, it's 3-4 weeks in right now. Okay, you've had the extra time. Throw your ass in there. You've got to see what a real NFL game's like behind a veteran quarterback.
Theo Johnson's also out for the Giants, too. So not only is Neighbors out, Theo Johnson, their tight end's also out for this game. So best tight end, best receiver out of the lineup, you're still throwing your rookie in the game. It's not smart to do that.
You're the franchise. If you're the franchise, they drafted you to be a franchise. You had 2 games to learn behind the veteran. Guess what? If you're the franchise and they believe in you, they're going to put you in there. And guess what? You're going to have to perform. Because if you don't, how are you going to perform later? How are you going to have faith in you later? Because I can agree with giving you a week, maybe even 4 weeks. You're going to have to say, well, you know what? There are injuries, things happen in the NFL. Guess what? You're going to have to persevere because it ain't going to get easier for you.
Yep.
Franchise, go prove it.
The next game's our game of the week. Everybody took the Chargers. The Chargers, the Bills, and the Chargers, Bills, and Commanders were all locks this week. So next game's Buccaneers, Eagles. This was a 5-4 split decision. I initially had the Eagles winning, but I switched to the Buccaneers. Baker's just been that clutch these first 3 weeks. And, yeah, I mean, Jalix Hunt's been awful at 34 right outside linebacker as a replacement to Josh Sweat. The Eagles, if they were smart, they would move Jihad Campbell over to edge rusher when Nakobe Dean comes back. But they're giving Jalix Hunt a chance to start, which is very short-sighted, very foolish. But, hey, right now, Baker has 3 receivers injured. Wirfs is coming back. Wirfs is coming back this week. I don't think he can come back. When you put a player on the PUP list, I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be out for weeks 1 through 4. But since he's on the PUP list versus IR, if he's cleared to play and I think he's cleared to play. Whereas if he's on IR, you can't play him even if he is medically cleared to play. That's the difference. If a player's on IR, you can't play them even if they're medically cleared to play. Whereas the PUP list, they're medically cleared to play. You can play them whenever the hell you want. I think that's the difference, Joey. So I think both, since Godwin and since Chris Godwin and Wirfs were both on the PUP list to begin the year versus IR, and they were both medically cleared, I think they're both playing this week. And for everyone who gives the Buccaneers shit about their offense, we haven't even seen the Buccaneers offense at full health yet. So for all the people saying, oh, the Buccaneers have gotten lucky, the best is yet to come. We haven't seen Egbuka, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans in a 3-receiver set yet.
What people really need to start understanding here is that Baker Mayfield is quietly becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like he's creeping up on about top 6, top 7, right in that area. And I mean, has a heart to absolutely prove it, man. And that's why he wins games. That's why he goes out there. The team gets behind him. That they get behind that fire that he has, and that's just who Baker is.
Players that won Player of the Game on Draft Utopia twice this season. Actually, 3 players. One is Fred Warner of the 49ers. The other is James Cook of the Bills. The other is Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. If the season ended today, one of those 3 would be my MVP. If I have a weapon pointed at my head and I have to vote a quarterback MVP, I'm not voting for Allen because Cook's taken pressure off of him, even though most would vote for Allen. I'd probably vote for Baker if I had a weapon pointed at me and I had to vote a quarterback MVP. I think I'd probably vote for Baker because of his 3 fourth-quarter comebacks. As idiotic as that sounds.
I agree 100% with William on this, but I have to emphasize, Baker has said publicly he would not be where he is had he not gone through the Brown situation, had he not been released by the Panthers, had he not gone to Todd McShay, who worked with him, and then he had not had the confidence of the Tampa organization and then become a father during that same.
And I think Baker's going to return to SoFi next year. I think next year's the Buccaneers' year to get to the Super Bowl. You think it might be this year, but they definitely have a 1 to 2 year window with all the young talent they have on offense.
It's an amazing journey for me because he never would have been what he is right now if he stayed with Brown, because he was given the keys to the kingdom as soon as he walked into Cleveland. And he wasn't ready for that maturity with his maturity level at the time. And everything he went through, and then becoming a father, and then getting the Tampa organization and everything else, is like it really is a remarkable journey.
I have the Bucs winning by a point, 20-19, but Wes, Kerm, Orrin, and Tony, who are all in the top 4, all picked the Eagles. So again, if the Bucs win, we gain a game on everyone. And Tony's a Buccaneers fan. He's got season tickets to the Buccaneers games. He's picked against the Buccaneers twice this season. Just think that's interesting.
Reverse psychology, man.
I just think it's interesting that the only Bucs fan at our company is picked against the Bucs twice this season.
Well, you're also talking to right now, they call it Baker Road. I was the one that originally started driving the bus for the Birds.
Yeah, you were driving the bus for the Baker when I was driving the bus for Mahomes, and it sort of clashed with each other.
I was driving before then. I was driving when Baker was coming out of high school. So my bus is older than your bus.
Were you? Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Colts, Rams.
And a few other things because it's starting to break down.
Colts play the Rams. I think Tony Mario basically said when the Rams benched Darius Williams and Akilla Weatherspoon got injured, the Rams are nothing more than a team that is a wild card team at best. Maybe they get to the divisional round, but because of their cornerback issues, that's going to limit their ability to make a Super Bowl run. I kind of agree with that, but I've got the Rams winning 31-21 by double digits. I thought Tracy took the Colts and West took the Rams. Hold on a second. I might have to re-at the site. Hold on. I'm checking my messages from Tracy and West. I think I may have mixed that up. Yep, Tracy took the Colts and West took the Rams. So I'm going to fix that briefly.
Oops.
Don't worry. I'm going to fix it. You guys can talk about whatever you want while I fix that for a few seconds. Hey, I sometimes I screw up.
Colts.
I know you took the Colts, William, so
I definitely took the Colts, man.
I know you took the Colts. Wes took the Rams, and Tracy took the Colts. That's what I'm fixing.
Got to show
I'm
that.
making sure you leave. I'm making sure the Colts is locked in for your pick this week. All right. I'm taking care of you. All right. Cool.
Danny Dimes some love, man. Danny Dimes.
I went to Colts camp. What's interesting, Tony Mario made in his power rankings is that if the Colts play the Steelers in the playoffs, the Colts will win. I disagree. I think the Steelers will win if that happened, but I had my friend Blake, who was to Colts camp with me, chime in on that, and he said the Colts will win. Jonathan Taylor would run for 200 yards on the Pittsburgh defense with how bad Pittsburgh's been against the run this year.
It seems feasible.
And Daniel Jones would have 2 more wins than TJ Watt if that scenario came to fruition. Because TJ Watt still has 0 career playoff wins. Daniel Jones has 1 because he led the Giants to a playoff win over the Vikings.
There you go.
Also, Daniel Jones would have just as many playoff wins as Baker Mayfield, unless Baker won a playoff game this year too. I know that triggers you to a degree, Joey, or annoys you to a degree, but Daniel Jones, if Baker doesn't win the playoffs and Daniel Jones wins a playoff game, Baker and Daniel Jones would both be at 2 playoff wins. Jaguars, 49ers. I initially had the 49ers winning. I did change to the Jags. 49ers just have too many injuries right now. Purdy is coming back. That'll help. But the Jaguars are healthier than the Niners right now. And without Nick Bosa, I don't think the 49ers can get pressure on Lawrence. I think Lawrence is going to have a very clean pocket in this game.
Just randomly, I just got a message from my buddy. He said he has an 8-leg parlay on college football today. I told him God bless. 8-leg parlay in college football. You are playing with danger, my friend.
I told my brother in week 2, since he hates all the bird teams, to put a 5-team parlay on all the bird teams. If he had listened to me, he would have turned $5 into $155. And then my brother Andrew goes, I'd rather burn all my money on fire than bet it on bird teams. He really hates the bird teams. And this whole anti-bird thing started in Boston when we went to scout Macklin Celebrini. And then the Eagles beat the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. And I just think these bird teams are going to continue to torture Andrew. What if we get a bird Super Bowl between the Ravens and Eagles? That would suck because my brother's 2 teams are the Chiefs and the Steelers. So,
Your brother's beliefs are for the birds.
No, my brother hates the bird teams, Joey. He hates the bird teams. He hates them all. Doesn't matter what sport. He hates all the bird teams.
That was the sarcasm. That was the sarcasm.
Okay, I get it now. But yeah, sometimes I'm kind of slow at processing jokes. But yeah, Oren, Tony, Mario, and Joey took the Jaguars, but Andrew, Tracy, Wes, William, and Daniel took the Niners. William, why don't you tell us why the Niners are going to win with Purdy back? I know Kittle, Ayuk's out, Juwan Jennings I think's out, but go ahead, break that down, and then we'll get to Ravens Chiefs.
Oh man, I'm missing something. Sorry, guys.
I'm going to check the stream here again. Okay, the microphone's working on my end. Only 4 games left after this. But yeah,
San Francisco. Yeah.
San Francisco, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's from Family Guy, but it is a great song. And I'm sure Family Guy copied that off of someone else. I think the peanut butter jelly time meme. Maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Well, I think
But knowing how unoriginal Family Guy is, I bet someone made that joke before they did. But Family Guy's really when it became a norm. Peanut butter jelly time. That's what Joey was singing in the background, William.
Ah.
I heard it. It was very subtle. It was a good job. I give you points for subtlety, Joey, but I heard it.
Well, anyway, let's see. Brock Purdy going to be back this week.
Have a peanut butter jelly time game against the Jaguars on Sunday.
Oh, and he is.
You say he will. Okay.
Sure.
Let's go with it's funny.
Let's just hope that the San Francisco 49ers win. So then my temperament for the week, my attitude for the week, be like, solid. Let's just hope the 49ers win.
Yep.
They absolutely should.
They should. With Purdy back, they should. I think the receivers are going to make things tough for Jacksonville, but that's a tough game to pick. Ravens, Chiefs, in Kansas City. One of these teams is going to be 1-3. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to get bailed out. Xavier Worthy is back too, and Xavier Worthy back, Mahomes is going to find a way to carve this defense. And I've got the Ravens winning 28-20. Chiefs entered the week as the favorite, then the Ravens became the favorite, and 54% of the public's betting on Baltimore. Me, Joey, Kerm, Tracy, and Daniel took the Chiefs. William, Wes, Tony, and Oren took the Ravens. So when I say this is another split decision game, this is another game that came right down to the wire.
And this is the reason I voted the Chiefs is the same reason I mentioned earlier about the Ravens. They are hit and they are missed. Okay? They are not a great defense. They're a very good defense, but they are not living up to the billing. And
it's at the point where the Ravens have to rely on their offense to win games. They have to rely on their offense to win games. And to be fair, the Ravens' offense has been very good.
They have been, but if you are going against the Chiefs and you're going against Mahomes and Kelsey, you need to be more than hit. And especially with Brody coming back, if you're in this scenario, we're going to put a 50 against you. There's not anything you can do about it. You cannot be hit and miss against the team. So the odds are Chiefs are going to go on.
I think the Ravens are going to get out of this funk eventually because I think if the Bengals miss the playoffs, it's going to be the Ravens that ends up going all. But the narrative's going to be their defense sucks. Always choke against Josh Allen. They always choke against Mahomes. But they actually have to go out and do it and shut the haters up. And so far, they haven't been able to do that. They couldn't do that last year when it finally looked like they had the offense to do that. And Clay Martin, who called the Chiefs-Texans playoff game, is getting his first Chiefs game of the season. Clay Martin. So that tells me all I need to know because Clay Martin The last 2 playoff games for the Chiefs that Clay Martin called, he called the Browns-Chiefs playoff game with Baker on the Browns, and he called the Texans-Chiefs playoff game last year. Clay Martin is getting this game. The Chiefs are winning. If you put any other ref besides Clay Martin in this game, I think the Ravens might have a chance. You gave the Chiefs Clay Martin. Chiefs do not lose when Clay Martin's officiating the game. They don't, Joey. Clay Martin is to the Chiefs what Brad Allen is to the Lions. Speaking of Brad Allen, he's in Dublin, Ireland tomorrow. Can the NFL please keep him there? Brad Allen's just an awful ref. Can their NFL just keep him in Ireland?
Referee exchange.
Yeah, just keep him in Ireland so we have fairer officiating games. The fact that Clay Martin's calling Ravens Chiefs, I think the Chiefs winning is a sure thing now. You can still pick the Ravens and tell us why we're wrong, William. They're favored for a reason. Their offense is that good, and the Chiefs' offense hasn't shown any flashes of being dominant. But I think that's partially due to Worthy being out. I think this is the week they start to turn it around. We'll see, though.
I kind of like the idea of the NFL not being rigged. So yeah. I'll stay where I'm at with the Ravens.
Yep.
But
Bill Vinovich is in New England this week. Ron Torbert got Packers Cowboys. Who got the Browns game? The Browns Lions game. Sean Smith. I think he got the week 1 game against the Bengals too. So no, Adrian Hill got the week 1 game, I believe, but Sean Smith, I don't know. I'm not going to look in the ref matchups right now. I don't want to entertain or appease any conspiracy theorists. Bears and Raiders, everybody took the Bears except for Tony Mario. He's taking the Raiders in an upset. Orrin was weeping about how the Raiders have no freaking chance against the Bears. That's how bad the Raiders have played. Orrin was weeping on the phone when making a pick for this game. That's how bad the Raiders have played. Okay? And I don't know why the hell this says, oh, God, did I forget to update the Raiders game write-up from last season? Was I in such a hurry to get this write-up done that I just left the Geno Smith's the starter, not Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. This is inexcusable. I am fixing this right now. Did I forget to copy and paste my Raider write-ups from week 3 to week 4? Because this says Gardner Minshew starting. No, Geno Smith's the starting quarterback. I'm going to update this and get this properly fixed. I promise, audience. I need to find out where the hell I placed the Raiders in week 3. I'm just trying to figure out where the hell Raiders played the Commanders in week 3, so it's an early game. We just got to find the write-up from the early game. There we go. Found it. All right. Now we just copy and paste this to week 4. And yeah, Louisville's playing Pitt. Pitt leads that game in the third quarter. I do have a pretty cool graphic I'll show you guys on the live stream, William. You know what? This is a good time to show you that. Let me just get something here. And we can incorporate this into Under the Bleachers too. This is an amazing graphic. I'm just going to copy and paste the Raiders write-up so it's updated. There we go. All right. Okay. I'll show you after the predictions, but yeah, the Bears to beat the Raiders. The Bears are a better team, have more weapons, they have more variety, and I think the Bears are going to find a way to be 2-2. And everybody took the Packers to beat the Cowboys. Packers, I think, are the final lock here. Yep, everybody took the Packers. I've got the Packers winning 35-17. Packers were guilty of looking ahead to the... That's why they lost. I think the Packers looked ahead to the Cowboys game with Micah Parsons being more fired up to play the Cowboys, his former team, versus the Browns. I think they got caught looking ahead. And I don't know.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Because you had the Browns winning in week 3.
I thought it was more simple than that, and that the Packers lost because one of the best players in the NFL ended up blocking Pick, who has 6 over his career. Not his hands up and walking down Pick. I mean, I thought it was just far more simple. It's like, Harris has 6 block kicks over the last, I think, 10 years, which is most in the NFL. Got his hand up, blocked Don kick. I thought it was just that simple. I mean, you guys may think more into it as more like one player. It was better.
The Packers lost that game more so than the Browns won it. The Browns did win it. We're not taking anything away from the Browns, but the Packers led 10-0 in the fourth quarter. They threw an interception to Delpit. They missed a field goal, and they had a chance to gain the lead. That was an all-time fumble by Green Bay as much as it was an all-time comeback by your Browns.
I just don't want you taking credit away from one of the better defensive veterans at what he does.
Shelby Harris made a clutch play. It was a good play. Not blown away, but he did his job. So,
He's the best in the NFL at blocking kicks from the interior defensive line. And I just, you say whatever you want to about the Browns win or whatever, Packers clap, whatever.
This was the flukiest week of games, okay? Week 3 may have been an all-time fluke week in the NFL.
Just don't take away from the veteran who has done it. This is his one pattern.
The best player in that game was Delpit. He had 9 tackles. He had the interception, and without Delpit, they don't win that game.
I'm not going to debate that. I'm just saying, just give Harris his flowers. Give him his flowers. That's all I'm asking.
I'm not going to give him his flowers. I'll commend him. I'm not going to give him his flowers.
I want him to have roses. Now you can leave the points on him. Do that if you want to, but give him fucking roses.
All right, everybody took the Packers to beat the Cowboys, 35-17. I'd rather roast Rasheed Walker than give. Look, I'll commend Shelby Harris. I'm not going to give him any flowers or roses. I'd rather roast Rasheed Walker for telling people the Packers would go 17-0 than. I mean, because Rasheed Walker never should have said that. Rasheed Walker never should have said the Packers are going to go 17-0. Because when you do that, you get cocky, you get complacent, and then Myles Garrett shoves his foot up your ass.
I'll meet you halfway. If there's one rose, and then roast.
I roasted Rasheed Walker for entertainment purposes.
Is that fair, though? Rose Walker? If there's one rose. Roses.
I will give him a Lego rose. I will give him a rose made out of Legos. That is the closest you will get to a compromise with me. I will give him a rose made out of Legos. All right. I'm glad we could come to an agreement on that. And yes, I had to roast Walker because when you promise you're going to go 17-0 and then you just get Myles Garrett's foot up your ass, I mean, this is why the Packers didn't extend you. It's why Zach Tom got an extension and you didn't. And the Packers are probably drafting a left tackle in next year's draft with Walker being in the final year of his rookie deal.
As all the defenders you don't want to piss off, Myles Garrett and his 2% body fat at 330 pounds and freaking muscle upon muscle is probably not the guy that you want to piss off. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, definitely. And the other prediction I made, I was correct about. Remember, not only did I say the Browns would cover the spread, I said Micah Parsons would have 0 sacks. I don't think any Browns pundits, anyone in the country else had that prediction. I'm pretty certain Micah Parsons did finish with 0 sacks. Gary had 2. Parsons. I said he wouldn't have any sacks. William picked the Browns to win. We did our homework.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I thought Parsons would have 1 sack because of the way the offensive line plays in. But they held him in check. So he did have a couple opportunities, but the running back, give him their flowers. They stepped up and bought his way.
I think I'd rather give Cornelius Lucas a flower than give Shelby Harris a flower. I'm kidding. I gave Shelby Harris a Lego flower, but yeah, it's like everybody's taking the Packers to beat the Cowboys. Everybody's taking the Packers to beat the Cowboys. It's just send Jerry Jones to Ukraine, okay? Russia and Ukraine, the favorite NFL team in Russia and Ukraine is the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones can be the hero in Ukraine. He can end the war in Ukraine.
And here's the thing. The Packers lost because the Browns defense was just that damn good. The Cowboys defense is not going to be good.
Well, this is the first game they'll have Diggs and they'll have they'll have Diggs and Bland back in the lineup, but I think their other 2 corners, Siobhan Revel's still injured and Kalen Carson's still injured, and not having those guys is going to be why the Packers win.
What did the Cowboys say last week? Oh, we are 1 superstar away from winning that game. You could have got superstar on freaking Packers. I mean, let's just be honest here. The Packers are coming in here. Your defense ain't that great because trade away a top 3 defensive player in the NFL, and now you're wondering why you're about ready to get your ass kicked by the team you traded to.
Yeah.
Now, you agree with that or not?
I think William agrees with that. Let's get to the 2 Monday night games because I think William's got to get out of here soon. And it's almost 3. I do want to end the show. I've been on since 10 a.m. So Jets, Dolphins. I think the Jets with Brownlee, they're going to be able to limit Hill and Waddle to under 100 yards. But I just think the Dolphins are too pissed off. They're due for a win. I'm going 28-14 Fins. William took the Jets. Everyone else took the Fins. William, if you're still here, tell us why we're wrong and why the Jets are going to get their first W. I'll check restream in a second. I think William... Nope, William's still here. I guess his audio's off. Or maybe he's checking on something. I don't know. All right. But yeah, I just think the Dolphins have too many weapons. They're too talented to lose 4 in a row. They have to win this game. Whoever loses this game is in the driver's seat for Garrett Nussmeier right now. This is basically the Garrett Nussmeier Bowl between the Dolphins and the Jets. It's 0-3 versus 0-3. Remember, last year the 0-3 Dolphins played last year the Titans played I think a few years ago the Titans played the Dolphins on Monday Night Football, and Tim Boyle led the Titans to a win over the Dolphins. Would you rather watch that than this? I wouldn't. I'd rather watch this than that. It was Will Levis versus Skylar Thompson last year in Week 4. It was Will Levis versus Skylar Thompson. Tua was in concussion protocol.
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant was Nussmeier. These quarterbacks in 2026 are all looking up to be nothing more than a bunch of overglorified second round picks. So it's like, that is depressing to think about.
Yeah. It is depressing. 2027 out. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks in 2026 and 2027, I would argue that right now, Julian Sayin and Dylan Raiola are the only 2 that lived up to the hype. We had 12 quarterbacks we had 11 quarterbacks with first-round grades in the next 2 drafts. Only 2 of them have lived up to the hype. Raiola and Sayan. Everybody else has sucked to a degree. That's really the big takeaway here, Joey. Is out of the 11 quarterbacks that I had first-round grades on, only 2 have played up to their potential, and everyone else has been very underwhelming.
It should tell you something when the entire Brown press is at Texas looking at Arch Manning, and they get a close-up of Haslam, Stefanski, and Merritt, and all 3 of them are looking at the game. You can tell that there's a degree of disgust on their face. That's because all you need to know about this next 2 years in the quarterback class.
I mean, right now, 2028 is looking like it might be the best QB group over the next 3 years because Malik Washington has Maryland at 4-0, and Bryce Underwood was the number 1 recruit in the country. Is it crazy to say that those 2 guys are better than every quarterback in the next 2 drafts right now?
So I do like Underwood. So, but at the same time, I'm going to withhold judgment because it hasn't proven anything.
Yeah.
At least
Washington and Underwood still need to prove more. I agree. I agree entirely with that statement. All right, but everybody took the Dolphins. William, if you're back, make a case for the Jets. If not, I think the Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins because I just think they're going to find a way to win. And yeah, I expected Illinois to beat USC. I know there's a lot of USC fans that are pissed off with how good Illinois has been this second half, but I had Illinois in the Big Ten championship game, and I had their only loss coming to Illinois. So this is what I expected from Illinois. They're starting to pull away. They're up 24-10. And what is this cool feature? Bengals Broncos. I took the Bengals. William and Joey both took the Broncos. I'm going to give the Bengals Lions Super Bowl prediction one more week. If the Broncos win, at that point I'll be prepared to pivot away from the Bengals. Because I think an AFC North team is going to win the Super Bowl in San Francisco. It's just what team has the strongest narrative. Is it the Bengals if Burrow comes back? Is it the Ravens if Lamar Jackson gets there? Or is it the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers' swan song in San Francisco? I would argue the Ravens have the strongest. Ravens and Bengals are the strongest narrative of the two, but I don't know if the Bengals will win enough regular season games to qualify for the playoffs. But yeah, William took the Jets over the Dolphins. I told William we would show him a really cool feature. So before we get to the feature, I said, here's everyone's picks for the Monday night game. And yes, I'm gonna get to the. I'm gonna stop screen sharing because I told William we had a really cool feature that we Restream was kind enough to give us some new features, and one of those features that I told Joey about and showed Ron is the breaking news feature. The breaking news feature. When we talked about the injuries to Barkov and Jamie Benn, we posted the breaking news feature. And now that we're done with NFL predictions, I'm going to break some college football news, giving you guys a few scores before we sign off. But yeah, this week we can incorporate this into Under the Bleachers if you want. If there's some news that breaks as we're recording Under the Bleachers, we can use this. And this is like getting a new present at Christmas. It's really cool.
That would be pretty slick, man.
Yeah, you see the breaking news stuff here. We can just incorporate that into Draft Utopia or Under the Bleachers. It's going to be a thing. I mean, as much as I don't want it to be a thing, you can't get me to stop using something this cool. So it's going to be a thing, people. Virginia beat Florida State last night in double overtime. The Seminoles are no longer undefeated. So I will have to take the Seminoles out of my top 25 or top 12 playoff pool for college football playoff pool. I do a weekly college football playoff pool. Also, Arizona State beat number 24 TCU touchdown 27-20. Ohio is beating Bowling Green on C. Duke is clobbering 38-3 ACC network. And Syracuse beat Clemson last week. So for them to lay an egg like this against Duke in the Carrier Dome, it's just not acceptable. You're coming off your best years against Clemson, and you're laying an egg to Duke. Right now, Dante Corleone and Cincinnati lead Kansas 30-27 on TNT. Wake Forest leads undefeated Georgia Tech 20-10 in the third quarter. Notre Dame is beating Arkansas 49-13. North Texas leads South Alabama 28-14. North Texas defeated season looks like it's going to continue. Kansas State leads. Rutgers leads Minnesota. Illinois leads USC. I'm watching that game on Fox at the moment. And then, so those are your scores. So no big upsets yet. What game am I going to watch at 3:30? It's probably going to be a combination of, Ohio State, Washington's probably the best 3:30 game. I think there's 4 watchable games. One's Illinois game. One's the Illinois game against USC, and then most of the 3:30 games are underwhelming. Baylor, Oklahoma, Indiana, Iowa, and Peacock. I think LSU, Ole Miss on ABC is probably the best 3:30 game. But Ohio State, Washington's pretty good too. So I'll probably flip between those 2 games because I want to see how my Buckeyes do. I'm also curious to see how Jonah Coleman does against Ohio State. But I think LSU, Ole Miss is going to be the game to watch. And Nussmeier's going to have one of these games where he breaks out soon. I know he hasn't had it this year, but in his defense, he lost 4 starters on his offensive line. That's really the only reason why I haven't been. But yeah. So we will definitely I'll try to release the breaking news feature more often. I will be back on Monday to break down the MLB playoffs. Under the Bleachers will be back on Wednesday. And on Saturday, fullback rankings. I'm going to try to preview the Eastern Conference in the NBA. But that'll be like way after we do our NFL content. We're going to have fullback rankings, and then we're going to have mid-season. Then we're going to go through contracts with Falcons, Bears, Packers, and Steelers. And then we can fire up the draft simulator if you guys are in the mood for that after. That'll be the reward. I want to try to focus more on some of the UFAs, some of the contracts. Because Kyle Pitts is a UFA after this season. I think he's getting moved at the trade deadline because he wants George Kittle, Travis Kelce money. He's not getting that. Kyle Pitts is not done enough to get that.
Dude, he's a glorified freaking receiver, dude. And not a very good one.
He is not done enough to get that type of money. That's what he wants. He wants like $19 million to re-sign with the Falcons. He initially wanted $14 million after his rookie deal heading into the 2021 draft. Now he wants $19 million because Kittle and Kelce got paid. It's like, bro, I'm not even sure you deserve $14 million. And the market's going to show that. I mean, the Falcons want a first, second, or third round pick. Teams are only willing to offer the Falcons a 3rd through 5th round pick. That's the market revealing to you that your value is supplicative. You're expendable.
Well, yeah. And I mean, just look at all the actual, just the number of tight ends that have been coming out the last couple of years, and I mean.
Yeah, you got Eli Stowers, Tanner Kozoil, and Max Clare, the top 3 tight ends. They're all going to be top 50 guys. You'd be an idiot to trade a 1st or 2nd round pick for Kyle Pitts. That's why teams are only willing to offer a 3rd through 5th. They've already looked at this tight end class and said, we'd rather take one of those guys on a rookie deal than pay out the ass to keep Pitts.
Obviously, man.
That's why.
Look, you're pulling.
That's why.
Harold Fannin, freaking. I mean, he's already showing out with Cleveland. Oronde Gadsden, these rookie tight ends, they're really starting.
There's really only 2 or 3 teams that I could see trading for Pitts. The Buccaneers, because all their tight ends are in the final year of their rookie deal. So if they can get Pitts And the Falcons are not going to trade him to Tampa, but I could see the Buccaneers signing him and him thriving with Baker next year. Just having like a Evan Ingram type career season. The 49ers, if they wanted a number 2 tight end next to Kittle, but I don't think the Niners are desperate for a tight end. I think they would probably neg the Falcons with multiple 4th-round picks.
Yeah.
And then the Jaguars. If the Jaguars are the one team where them trading for a tight end makes sense to push Brenton Strange. Them trading for a tight end makes sense. So I could see the Jaguars trading for Kyle Pitts, hoping to get another Evan Ingram.
Yeah, and that could definitely be a possibility, But
yeah, that where Kyle Pitts gets traded to, that's going to be one of the topics we talk about during the Falcons on our free agent discussions, free agency previews, midseason report cards, all that good stuff. And everyone's saying, oh, the Falcons will draft in their quarterback. Falcons don't have their 2026 first-round pick, okay? They're gonna give Penix another year, even if he's a disaster this season. He's gonna get another season next year. And if he sucks next year, then we can have this conversation. But right now, where they're drafting, they don't have a first-round pick, and there's not going to be a quarterback better than Penix on the board in 2026 in the second round. I mean, your choices are Klubnik or Mendoza. And Mendoza might not be there when he's gone. Do you really want to replace Penix with Klubnik? Because that's your best play if you choose to give up on Penix. And that's just stupid. That's fireable.
After they've already signed Cousins and then drafted Penix. And
that's what I'm saying. They're probably going to roll with Penix and Cousins for one.
Well, yeah. But the whole point is, I'm kidding at is they're kind of wasting time here, kind of bobbling the ball a little bit.
They can get out of the Cousins contract after this season if they want to, but I think they're going to keep both guys for the 26-27 season. And then they're going to buy out Cousins in 27-28 to save more cap space.
Well, they've already, I mean, their situation was already questionable to begin with. So, I mean, there's just going to be people, pounding that home when it comes down to it, and especially when Penix is already, 25 years old. And, I mean, how many surgeries deep? And, I mean, that was my response when I heard, that Atlanta drafted Penix was, if you see a window, you have to take it, but you can't bobble it, more than,
I had Penix graded ahead of Bo Nix, but right now, the way things are going, Jane Daniels is the only guy who looks like he's going to get a second contract. Drake May, I think, will get a second contract as he develops. Caleb Williams might, but I'm still waiting for more consistency from Caleb. And someone said, oh, Caleb leads the league in passing touchdowns, so he's guaranteed. Well, let's see. Let's see if that continues. Yeah. I think the top 3 picks are probably going to get second contracts, and I think Bo Nix will get a 5th-year tender, and if he proves himself in his 5th year, then he'll get a second contract. Or if he wins the playoff game before that 5th year, he'll get a second contract. And right now, McCarthy's probably the one guy who's not getting a second contract, and Penix, it's a wait and see with Penix. Not saying he will or won't, but it's too early to make a verdict on Penix.
Yeah, I mean, with how it is these years, should I say, these days, these years, I mean, if you win a playoff game, like you said, then they're obviously going to be looking at second contracts and everything else, and so much speaks up for that matter, or they might just, hang on to somebody for an extra year. And so, I don't know, man, but like I said, whatever Atlanta's doing, they better do it in a hurry.
Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. When we do this, if we do the simulator, we'll all group pick for Atlanta since they don't have a first round pick. I'll probably either take the Packers or the Steelers, and then Joey can have whatever team you want and then you could have the Bears or you could have whoever. We'll figure it
Right.
out later. But yeah, MLB playoffs are Monday. Fullback rankings are Saturday with all our other fun content following, and then maybe an MLB playoff update, maybe an NBA preview. It's a maybe. It's not definitive. Yes, I know I'm not going to get time to preview the conferences in the NBA, like because there's only, I think the NBA regular season starts October 20th, so there's only 2 Saturdays before the NBA regular season, so we'll try to sprinkle the NBA into this, but I'm just saying we're more focused on football, baseball, shit. You could argue I'm more focused on soccer than the NBA right now. There's just, I want to do an NBA preview, but at the same time, it's going to take a backseat to all our football content. There's just so much football content we got to do. And I haven't even started coding week 5 yet. So I need to do that. It's 3 p.m. Talk shoe, can you please, instead of disconnecting me, can you please re-record before I sign off, please? Like, this is just getting, at least you're not like when we did the AFC West previews, Talk Shoe just disconnected entirely as just like, yeah.
Yeah, fuck you.
So we'll probably have 3 more shows on Talk
You.
Shoe. 579, 580, 581, and then 582, and then there will be 2 extra shows. And then we'll probably won't be back on Talk Shoe until December because it's like we got a lot of stuff to do. We got a lot of stuff to do for I'm only doing 30 shows on Talk Shoe this year because I want to be at 1,000 episodes by the end of the season. So if 16 of those episodes are dedicated to draft specials, that really leaves only 2 episodes where we have these open conversations about whatever. And I'm guessing we're going to save one of those for the NFL playoffs. And the other could be for, I don't know, whatever we wanted to do later in November or December if there's something with massive implications. But yeah, I'm going to sign off on Talk Shoe and Restream, call it a day, because I've been on the air since 10 a.m. I'm ready to call it a day.
Me too.
We covered everything.
Later, guys.
All right. See you later, William.
Have a good one, kind sir.
That was William Yanish. I'm Chris Ransom. That's Joseph Potter. The phone with the crickets in the background, that's Joey. All right, we're signing off. But yeah, I'll get rid of the breaking news overlay.